Let's see how I can do that. Can I... How do I... Yes. Does that work? Let me see if I can add the... Okay. This is an experiment. There you go. Yes. Hello. Salut José. Hey Ed. Yeah, I had enough of this nonsense. And it's a beautiful day. I thought maybe someone wanted to chat music. If someone wants to come on, hey Loyola. Yeah. I hearing all day or every stream about YouTube channels, blah 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 blah. Yeah. How exciting is that, guys? Huh? Oh wow, so many people already. Well, this is totally improv. I'm not gonna play records today. So and oh, okay. Bye, Waxed. How do I block him? Time up. Yeah, let's be. Hey, Sean, it's been a while. Yeah. Let's have a nice little stream. If anyone wants to come on, like, there's just the link upstairs there. Yeah. So I haven't bought that many records lately, but I've been able to enjoy them quite a lot, and it's been quite nice. There's quite a few interesting things I've noticed lately. Oh wait. Yeah. Okay, so many people. Hello, Schmerten, MZ. Yeah, I'm okay. There's a few interesting records coming soon that we're going to talk about tomorrow with Michael. But I've noticed that there's so much right now. Like, I mean, it's September, October. It's when like when it's getting crazy, and I found a few ways to. I think I found a way to get some records from the US at a better price, so I'm quite happy with that. We'll see how it goes. But I was thinking, oh wait. Hey, Madame Sin, come on, Madame Sin. The link is up there. Ah, inauthentic, Madame Sin. Hey, John. Let's have like let's try to talk about some music instead of all this nonsense. I'll just put the link once again, if I can. How do I do that? Comment. I'm just testing a little bit also to see how my phone copes with all of that. And oh, guest, there it is, Madame Sin. Oh.
Ça va?
There we go. Ça va et toi?
Very well. How you doing, man?
Wait a second.
Hey.
I'm good. And here is José.
Is this the new VC?
yeah, that's the new VC. No, I just like 4 days of everyone talking just about channel growth, about YouTube channels and rebranding. I don't know you guys how you feel about that, but after a while, yeah.
Bollocks.
There's a weird buzzing sound. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, there's like a whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it you, Paul? Oh, no, it's...
I can't hear it.
So it's probably coming from you then.
Yeah.
Let's see if
Can you hear it? What is it?
let me see. Yeah, I put you on mute and now it's gone. So it's definitely coming from you. Wait, I'm unmuting you.
Yeah.
You have
Maybe it's
something going
feedback.
on your computer.
Oh, really? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can fix it, Stunty.
Yeah.
What does it sound like? Is it like a...
Like a propel, a sort of propel.
Oh, okay. I
Like
might
a
try...
digital, not an analog propel, a digital one.
Oh, yeah. Is it one of those, is it? I'll tell you what, I might try a different computer. Let me just...
All right.
Let me just read... Hang on, I'll just try...
Yeah, there we go.
Right, he left. How you doing,
Salut,
man?
Jose. I'm good.
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah. You've never been on
No,
screen on Rachel, right?
no. I'm in my childhood home right now, so that's why there's a lot of like weird ass posters in the back.
Where is that? Is that in Mexico or is that in Germany?
No. I grew up in El Salvador, so this
Yeah.
is El Salvador, like in Central America, like not
Okay.
Mexico.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, I'm all the way here.
And Jose, for those who don't know, has runs a label and has quite some good records. So how do you find records in El Salvador?
Well, it's a weird thing. Look, I grew up here, and I used to go a lot of like thrift stores. There's a lot of like Goodwills and all that. All those records that people don't want in the U.S. Usually get all the way down here.
They
So
end up
around
there.
yeah, so like 10 years ago, something like that, they used to be like it was like
Wait a second. We go.
Hey,
Yes.
how does it sound?
Now the sound is good. I
That's good,
think.
yeah?
How does
Good.
it sound, Jose? Jose? Okay.
Yeah,
Jose has frozen, I think.
yeah. It's not my fault.
Come on, we know you are the dark magician. So.
Yeah. How's it
Oh
going, Stunty?
man.
You all right?
Yeah. I'm good. I thought I wanted to chat a little bit quickly of music and. So it wasn't like today was not possible. Yeah, on Rachel. So
Can't get
yeah, and
words in anyways these days, I find.
yeah. It's
Very difficult.
it's weird. It's weird what it's becoming, and but yeah.
Yeah,
Let's not think too much about that. Jose, come back
exactly.
up if you can, and yeah. So there he is. I think.
Is it coming on?
oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had so much shit open in my
Okay. Yeah.
thing, but yeah. So
Cool.
I basically got lucky, I guess. I have so many like random stuff that I pull here. I try to go other places here in Central America, and there was a good pressing plan. It was not maybe the most high quality of them all, but it used to be a lot of pressings
Yeah.
of a lot of bands. Even when they started like fading out, I like if you look at Colombia and Brazil, there was a lot of pressing plants pressing vinyl even after like the whole boom, even to the point of like if you see like Black Sabbath in
Yeah.
Brazil, their last two records with Tony Martin got pressed on vinyl and nowhere else. It just got very weird, but it's interesting. So look, I even have some records here I could show you.
You know,
Look,
it's interesting because here in Scandinavia in the late '80s, show the records. Yeah,
yeah, I just want to show
there
you
was a
this because
maybe.
this is the you
Oh,
said it
okay,
says it's made in El Salvador.
Hmm.
nice.
So this is like absolutely hard to get even here. And you may say like, hey, it's just a John Lennon album, but it's like rescuing records here because sometimes you see it like in the worst possible.
Yeah.
Uh,
But about getting all these records that no one wanted, like in the late 80s, early 90s, all the Northern American distributors got together and put all their returns from the past like 20 years or so
mhm.
up for auction in one single big batch. And it
Mm.
was like two guys, one Finnish guy and one Swedish guy who bought it all, which is why here we find so many originals, often with like a punch hole or a cut corner, but still unplayed American
Yeah,
LPs.
this yeah
And
over
of course,
here.
the fun part of it is that, of course, it's partly mafia related. Like the people who buy that many records in one time, usually, like the way they get the money to do that, there will be stories after the facts as well.
And that was a mafia scam anyway, doing the return records, Stunty. The whole return records thing was a mafia scam anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
they used it like skimming off money off the casinos. You know, it was that kind of deal. You know what I mean? Because in America, it's the record industry is there's a lot of mafia connections, isn't there? You know.
yeah.
One thing
Oh,
that people don't think about, like there's been talk in the VC about bootlegs every now and then. I can tell you from experience that if you think about it, like there's so much money laundering in the world. I know I've been asked by people to do like 50 bootlegs a year that would give me orders for,
yeah,
and I know for a fact. I don't know for a fact, but I know it is
Yeah, it's money
100% money
laundering.
laundering. Like
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
like if they want to press like 500 copies of a bootleg of something that will never sell, come on.
exactly. Yeah, we have
Well,
money laundering in
there's
London
a
very
over
openly.
here, and yeah, there's a lot of when I was in Spain a year ago, literally a year ago. There's like so specific bootlegs now. It's like it's so crazy. I used to see like all those Led Zeppelin with the bluish logo from the first pressing,
Yeah.
like a very specific things that a Neil Young album, Wrecking Ball, uh, that it's like around $100 $200 range for original pressing.
Wow.
There's so much of like
And they're
so
trying to make
specific art.
do they try to make the cover look authentic as well?
No, yeah,
Because,
absolutely. I actually uh the only one that I bought because I didn't knew it was a fake one was the first one that I saw. It was Tom Waits Bone Machine copy because it's such a weird album to find on the wild, and I saw
yeah.
it and it I don't know how even to describe it. It was like this, like the cover was like even like fucked up, like it was like even it had like the circle around. Can you hear me? Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was hacking a little bit, but
All right. Yeah, it was so specific. I was just amazed at how much people just like think about what to put in these little like represses,
you
fake bootleg.
remember, Paul, you remember a few years ago the whole Northern Stall 7-inch Mafia?
Yeah, yeah.
That was pretty funny story. Like these old dudes.
That is the most bootlegging of any type of music, Northern Soul. It's been they were bootlegging it in the '60s, so
Oh, already, okay, yeah.
because these
But
records were so rare, Stunty. They
yeah,
could
yeah.
only find 3 copies,
Yeah.
and they've got 5,000 Northern lads who want a copy of it. You know what I mean? It's a no brainer, isn't it?
Look, this I know this is a normal one, but look, this is also from Costa Rica. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just I just found this like on the weekend. But yeah, it's so interesting to find all these pressings, and there's a lot of like very too hard to find like psych music over here, and it's such a wild market because I know you probably guys don't know anything about Central American pressings, but you have to understand that there's a lot of people out there that are like very hardcore Beatle collectors, very hardcore, just
Yeah, they'll
mostly
buy
British.
anything.
Yes, but it's so interesting how most people here, like the vinyl community around here, they only buy the records to sell them outside, and people buy them like crazy, like Sergeant Pepper's, going up for like $200 just because it was pressed in Guatemala. It's like so weird, and
Like
it's like,
for someone, a regular person in El Salvador right now, how much is
yeah,
$2,000 for them?
to what?
Two hundred
Well,
dollars. How much is it in El
we have
Salvador?
our
Cost of
national
living, I mean.
yeah, our national currency, it's American dollars actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we got after 2001 there was like an earthquake, and the US government was like, hey, you know what, you have to help us out a little bit, and they were like, we'll help you out, but you have to like change your currency, and we had to fight Iraq with them. It
You
was
have to
crazy.
start to listen to the Beatles and the Rolling
Yes,
Stones and
yes. So it's wild, but
Mm.
right now, like, economy's not bad. I think mostly it's like a bunch of bad news that fall around this type of countries, but it's not bad at all. It's mostly just a regular country, small country. But as far as like records go, it had a huge boom in like 70s and 80s. Almost anything and everything was pressed here, but it just faded out so quick because the CD market, at least in here in Latin America, the CD bootlegs was so popular because you went from buying a record for $25 to $1.
wow.
So you do the math. It was so in the movies too, like DVDs. Still to this day, there's
Yeah, I remember that, like in Paris, there were street sellers from South America that were selling these as well, even here.
yeah.
But like like a locally a band from Salvador releasing an album today on vinyl. I guess like it can't like what would be like an everyday product that you buy both in El Salvador and you buy in London, in Stockholm. What would that be, and what price would that be over you?
Well, here it's
Can
rather,
of Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
yeah, right here it's 65 cents
okay.
US dollar. So I guess
Oh,
right now the euro and the
so it's
pound,
cheaper than the States then.
yes, a lot cheaper. But
Yeah.
food is, living costs. This it's That's why I always say it's weird because it's like, oh, somebody says quetzal. Yeah, quetzal is like six quetzales is $1. Most of the currency in Latin America is not that bad. Well, I guess I can't say that because Colombian and Costa Rican, it's pretty fucked up. But yeah, because it's like 500 colones in Costa Rica, it's $1. So that's wild to think.
Mm.
But here, yeah, it's almost all my life. It's been the US dollar. So
So, so what kind of local music do you look for that is interesting, that is surprising, that is out of the Western music comfort zone?
well, unfortunately, since this is a very small country, there's a lot of influence in what people play, what people listen to. So I guess it's a little bit of everything. There was a 60s, 70s. There was a lot of like psych garage bands. A lot of covers too. Like everybody did Inagaga da Vida or something like that. Right now, there's a lot of like post rock, a little
Oh, okay.
experimental music. Like,
because because the music you've released on your label, like
yeah,
you release some international artists, but other than that, like it's been mostly on the rock side of things, right?
yeah. Well, I started that label after I graduated from college, and I'm an audio engineer. I There was a lot of music that I liked that I thought like if no one else releases it on vinyl or cassette, it was gonna die there.
Yeah.
So it's a little process of that. At first, I just released what I could. I did a little more pop at the beginning, and I guess it's I I wouldn't say like rock oriented a lot because I don't know. I wouldn't say my label is like rock music.
No, no, it's not.
Yeah, but I tried as much as possible to release like very specific kind of music because I know it's out there. Like in Argentina, I've released music from pretty much the whole continent.
You know
And
this label from Peru called Bru,
what?
Bru,
Oh
BRUH.
yeah, they release like psych. Have like cumbia too,
They
and
release a shitload of new music from Peru,
yeah,
both like as you said, like psych rock,
Peru is
avant-garde.
perfect, isn't it?
yeah.
Sorry.
My third largest audience on YouTube. It's first it's UK, then it's America, then it's Peru.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
That's my
Nice.
third biggest demographic on YouTube is Peru. It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, they
And
have a lot of
yeah,
great garage music. They have a lot of
Yeah,
45s actually, because I know you're a 45
yeah,
collector. There's a band called Los Psychos.
yeah.
You know them, right?
Yeah.
They're like proto punk.
They're much
play
harder,
heavy.
heavy sort of sound, aren't they?
Yes,
The
very
more
very
punk side of garage.
yes, very very like the vocals in
Yeah,
garage
he's great.
music.
That guy, that singer, got a
Yeah,
terrific voice, isn't he?
yeah. I always yeah. He does like this growling, very deep growl.
Yeah, it's a very.
I've always have curiosity, like what someone outside of what
oh, oh,
Oh,
you're frozen for a little while. Have you investigated? Oh, now you're back, I think, Jose.
yeah, yeah. Just come back. I lived in the States from 70 to 72, and I haven't found any new gems, Michael. I'm still looking.
But like when you say that, like your fourth biggest audience is from Peru, had you investigated a little bit the Peruvian music and like why it might be so, or was it just a
I've no
surprise?
idea. No
Yeah.
idea. I get subscribers from Peru, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina. There's another one. Might be another one, but it's very pleasing. I'm delighted. Honestly, I'm delighted. There's people in Colombia and Brazil listening to my channel. You know what I
No,
mean?
yeah, I know. The thing is, I know quite a lot of people in the U.S., like in Florida, in New York, in various part of the U.S. who are of Peruvian heritage. That either
yeah,
have one parent that is Peruvian or not, and and the people I know in the U.S. are usually musicians or collectors. So, like a few years ago, when I saw these labels turn out, I think Jose is back.
hi, sorry, my internet
It's
is
fine.
shit today.
Happens. And yeah, and like all these labels from Peru doing new music, but also like I have a few Peruvian like 70s, early 80s avant-garde electronic albums. Actually, there's quite a few, not many, not dozens of them, but like there are some.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you're into that kind of stuff, like if they released it, it was because it was good. They wouldn't just release the vanity in a way back then.
No,
But I guess yeah, like in a way, I know that like for psych, South America and Central America are kind of like the Wild West in a way. Like
Yeah, and
there's
there's
so
so much
much.
of it. There's so much
Yeah,
of it, Stunty. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And some of it is so obscure and hard to
very
find. It goes
obscure.
for a lot of money, and you know.
There's
But the
there's a
thing is
good
that yeah, go on, Jose.
sorry. There's a good compilation that was released this year. If you're interested at all about it's like Salvadorian punk scene that was retreated from 45s. That's actually great. Fuera. Let me research the name, but it it's basically what they did for the Psychos, like a lot of 45s hanging around, and they started like putting it together to make a
Cool.
record.
Like the old Pebbles, really, like the Pebbles albums that did the US Garage 45s. I mean, there's equivalents, aren't there? There's virtually a garage compilation from almost every country in the world, isn't there? You know,
Yeah.
it's
I
incredible.
really
I mean, even
feel
those Japanese garage bands, you know.
I really feel that we're it's not the very start, but we're kind of at the start of a golden age of embracing music from all over the world right now, which is for me it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I think it's very
almost
interesting, isn't it? You know?
it's getting easier,
Uh,
but like also like just imagine Jose, he's in El Salvador, he runs his label. Where do you press your records?
Uh, I have a friend who helps me with this most of the time. I make all the tapes, but it's mostly Czech Republic.
Okay, and it's
I'll
and do
still that one.
you?
That yeah.
Yeah,
What?
A lot of people use that plant, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I used to do it in the US. I did some records in the US, but the cost was so big. And I normally
Yeah.
release like batches of like 300 or something like that. And it's just so much sometimes that it's not worth it. So I have a good mastering engineer, so I rely on that a lot mostly. But all the presents have sounded very good, and I've made sure of that.
Do you have a problem with dishing?
No, not so far. We haven't had any issues at all.
That's good.
you
Oh,
know,
good. They might have
I
sorted that
actually
out because they.
go on, Paul.
Well, they used to have a terrible problem at that Czech plant with dishing. They used to get a lot of warped records because they couldn't wait for them to cool down quick enough. You know what I mean? So they were actually
I'll
putting the
tell you
records
what.
outside in the cold to cool them down. And you know what happens? They buckle, don't they? You know.
I
Yeah.
actually visited GZ.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did
I
you?
visited. Yeah, yeah. And I signed a paper, a non-disclosure agreement. I'm not allowed to
Tear it
talk
up.
about
Tear it up.
anything about that. But basically, what I can tell you, it's like a big village. It's not a small village. It's like a whole town.
Oh yeah.
And the
Right.
printing, not the pressing, but the printing business is much bigger now than the pressing business.
Well,
What I'm not supposed to
Yeah.
talk about is the conditions, like how clean it is and stuff like that.
if you can't
I
talk
can
about it,
tell you.
it's probably bad.
Oh, we can play that game. Yeah, I can. I can say something, and and you can
Because
make your own
if
conclusion.
it was amazing, if it's like great, you'll be like raving about it, I guess.
I mean, I've always
Hmm.
dreamt about opening a sleazy, dirty, oily garage repair shop for used cars. That's always been my dream. Let's say, let's put it that way.
All right, all right.
But
As long as
they managed to do the work, and I agree with you. Most of the time, like the result. Let's put it that way. When you know what you're doing, like the whole super hygienist. Like I visited plants that were like everything was like under like hermetic. You felt like you were in a pandemic,
Yeah.
a movie, like, and
yeah.
Yeah.
that's I wouldn't say it's nonsense, but that is so overdoing it. If you look at the pressing plant in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, there was none of that. And really,
Of
there's
course
only
there was.
yeah, there's only for the pressing. There's only two critical points apart from knowing what you do, the values, but like the corruption is either in the system. So if the system is well designed, no corruption, and then it's when you install the stampers and how you dry the labels. That's where you will get all these concerns about hygiene and how clean and
Yeah.
dusty or not it should be. So
Yeah.
right
Well,
now, I know there's actually a South American model of pressing machine that
oh yeah,
uh,
I have the. Yeah, I've talked to that guy. I know who you're gonna say.
the one who doesn't use electricity.
Yes. I have.
Ah,
I have his. He sent me a message. He
it's
sent
a
me a message
crazy
through
machine.
WhatsApp. He's a very interesting guy. Looter said something that I thought it was interesting. He said like GC Media is for small labels, at least in Europe, and I agree a lot.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
but then why
Mm.
is a lot of big name like Vinyl Me Please and all that
Because they
releasing
have
like
created themselves the capacity to do that, and of course
yeah.
they're that's it. It's literally like imagine during the Napoleon War, a
Mhm.
town that has a factory dedicated to manufacturing weapon.
Mhm.
Imagine in your mind what kind of how it could feel. A town
How it could
which
feel
the
there.
whole purpose is that. That's basically how GZ looks like.
Or like a actual facility of records being like manufactured. It's not a
Yeah,
pretty
and
sight to
like
see, I guess.
that the whole it's like a small society fully dedicated to the production of records.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting. Like I myself, I manufacture all cassettes. I have a good real time duplicator over there in
Yeah,
Mexico. I live in Mexico because I'm engaged over there and I study there.
congratulations.
Oh, thanks. I want to study over there mostly because I could have studied here, but I would have studied something else and maybe not as I don't know. It was just not my thing, and I went to study Mexico. It was a little closer to things that I wanted to be close to, and then I I have put the label over there after I graduated, and I press all the tapes there. But vinyl records, there's a pressing plant in Mexico City, but it's just not good. Like
Yeah, and I guess I think I know which one you're talking about. And they have machines. They don't have modern machines. They have machines that create a few problems if you don't have people who know who've been using them for the past like 30 years.
yeah,
I don't want to go too much into the technicalities because I I do that too often already. But it's I, the other day on my stream I played a record by an Egyptian singer of new Egyptian music on an Egyptian label.
mhm.
And I know that it's not being pressed in Egypt, but like I know also that they are trying to find ways to do that. Even in of course, like the economic level of Egypt doesn't make it possible for kids to buy vinyl records there. But
Sure.
I
There's
mean,
an instance.
yeah,
There's sorry I'm interrupting. I've never been in live stream before, and you can tell.
yeah,
You can tell. There's actually like if you go to Sony Argentina, they reopen their plant, and I don't know if it's because they're really proud of it. I don't know what it is, but they really want to press the records there, and it's so much like so expensive in comparison. I'm talking about at least 10 to $15 per record more than if they were pressing it somewhere else per
hmm,
unit and it's crazy expensive. Like almost Argentina's economy, it's a little shaky almost
yeah,
every time, and all the records are at least $50 or up. Like it doesn't matter if it's a single record, it doesn't matter if it's a double record, but everything is so weird. And what and Sony opened the plant, so there's a lot of like small labels trying to press the records there, but it's so expensive because do you know Juana Molina? You
Yeah,
know
of
her?
course. She used to do. She's used to do stuff with Fortet, and I think she did also
Yeah,
stuff with Preview 73.
yeah. Even David Byrne, I think she did
Yeah, yeah.
some. But so she has a new label, and I actually helped move some records in Mexico, and they pressed those records in the UK and they pressed those records in Argentina. And in Argentina, they were 55, $60 each. And in the UK, it was 30, I think, like
Huh.
converted. Like, so it was so crazy. And the only difference was that the Argentinian was in Spanish and the other one was in English. But I just, I just feel like what you're saying just doesn't make sense for most people. Like, hey, I want to press a record, I want to do it here because I know the U.S. likes that a lot, like made in the
Hmm.
U.S. But most labels outside of the U.S., if they can't do it like locally, they will go outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and I feel that's honorable to a certain degree, but I also think if you're just forcing it a little too much, like this case in Argentina, the prices is just not good for you nor for the customer. It's crazy.
The price are not good, but the other day, Michael 45, he did that stream with Dylan from Noble Records, and there was one point that Dylan made that I think is very true,
Hmm.
which is like the whole chronology of the COVID. That the first few months of COVID it was catastrophe for us as the pressing plant and our suppliers catastrophe, labels everywhere. And then, as everyone knows, it got better and much better. And I truly believe that what he like no one can. It's just a guesstimate. But Dylan was saying that he thinks that the market, the customer market of new and secondhand records more than doubled in the world.
Mm. But during
And,
the COVID pandemic, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think he's correct, which means that even if the records price are out of control in other places in the world, it's also maybe because a lot of places in the world weren't really concerned about buying new records uh, lately, and now they are, and they had like the economics are what they are. So, like as you say, the 50, there's no way right now for records to be less than $50 there. But if the trend goes on, of course there will be an adaptation, and in
Yeah.
these places they will find ways. They will.
I hope so. They have a lot of artists, and I mean a lot of artists that they're pressing since like 2 3 um years ago. They have nonstop been pressing, doing represses, first time on vinyl, but the prices have not go down. I hope they do, because most of the time, what's most expensive about buying from over there, it's the pricing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, a question for me. Yeah. Well, we normally do between 100 and 500, and the reason behind it, it's not because I love releasing like small batches. It's because sometimes I fear that it's not going to sell out quick enough. Because since I'm not a big label, I try to just release how I know my audience is going to buy, and if it sells out, we do a repress of it, maybe on a different color. The first Merciful release we did, it sold out the same day, and I was like, oh wow!
Yeah.
And we repressed it. We did 300 orange copies, and and it's so well, but I can't have like too many in back stock, so I'm relying on doing like the
Yeah,
smallest
you're in the
amount.
position where you have to be conservative a little bit, and sometimes you notice, oh shit, I was a bit conservative.
Yes, yes, a little bit, but it's such a huge hassle sometimes because it's like cassettes. I make 100. That's it. I make 100,
Mm.
and if I have to do any more, I do them. But cassettes, it's such a specific market. I love them
Yeah, yeah,
because compact, and we do like Japanese riso printed artwork. Riso.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
vegetable coloring.
The riso paper. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes. I have a friend over there that does that for me, and we do that for the tapes, and we do like alternative artwork. So we do a little different, and we release those first. So
Yeah,
the way I do it is I sell the tapes first, and from that money, we invested it all through the vinyl. That way, we can do like both releases and still release more. It's
yeah,
because I've done Merciful, I've done Shushu, I've done, and but I also press tapes for other labels, and so I am very grateful for cassettes because it's like at least like 70% of what I actually do. But
For those who don't know, Jose has been releasing some pretty big names of experimental music, but experimental from the punk side of things, not necessarily from the
yeah,
academy. But yeah,
yeah,
I wanted
experimental.
to check with you, Paul, like this comment that Dom made. I made this little experiment lately of like checking a few records I'm playing on my streams, on my live streams on Discogs before I play them, seeing how many copies are available, and like 2 days later, how many are left. You
Cool.
do that
How
as
does that
yeah. Like when I do that, it's usually when I do for records that I believe it might be that suddenly, like when there was like 5, 6, 8 copies for around $10, $20, suddenly there's only one left at 120, if there is any. And the other last Friday I played this drone post rock avant-garde double LP from '97, and there was one
Hmm.
copy for 35 euros and a few others between 40 and 60, and they're all gone now. All. I didn't think that record would have like that the people would buy this record for over 60 just
Yeah.
discovering it, and they did. It's a record from 97, so it's like 25 years old. So
Hmm.
of course it had like it had no one was talking about that record. There was no emergency or anything, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll get like the guy I got my copy from. He had 2 copies for 35. I thought like maybe I'll get both, and and, and I play it, and like less than a
You
week
should be
later,
getting some backsheesh from all this, Stunty. You should be getting a, you know what I mean? Should be
yeah.
getting a backhand from all these dealers, you know?
Yeah,
Well, I put like a little um, on my streams. I put like a little link. I created a sort of coffee jar. Like if you want to tip me, if you did good after my recommendation or what. But the thing is, I wanted to ask you, Paul, if you notice sometimes as you haven't talked that much about how. I know you're a dealer. You admitted to me, but you don't talk about that too much. But
No, because it's boring to people in the vinyl
yeah.
community, isn't it?
Mm.
You know what people in the vinyl community want? They want you to come up with a Beatles record, right? Not even a fucking original. They want you to come up with a reissue LP and go like this. This is what I've got. This is what I've got. This is what I've got. You know? And
Yeah.
they don't want to hear interesting stories, do they, Stunty? They don't want any from people that actually know what they're fucking talking about, do they? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's my rant.
no, but
But
it's
as
just,
but you're playing records
Yeah.
almost every day. You don't
Oh
play
yeah.
you play interesting copies of well-known tunes, but you also play some unknown tunes sometimes.
Yeah.
Have
Absolutely.
you
Well,
noticed sometimes
I like to mix
like
it up.
have you noticed sometimes that has an effect on like how these copies disappear after you play them?
You know, I've never checked it out, but I should do really. Now you've piqued my interest now because next time I play some Nader beat, some Q65 or something, I'll be going on there and having a look. Do you know what I mean? But people do say to
Yeah.
me, "Look, I've never heard of this group. They're great. I'm going to go out and check them out." Do you know what I mean? And I've had people say to me, "I went out and bought this record because you played it." You know, that's great. I mean, when that happens, that's brilliant. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You sort of feel like you're not sort of wasting your time. You know what I mean? But
I bought that
it's
WhatsApp
good. You know,
album you talked about, Stumpy.
Sorry.
The WhatsApp album you featured in
It,
one of
it
your.
was
I bought that one.
the it's the what's his name, guitar player who turned a cello player, and who's now the prime musician for playing the music of Pauline Oliveros, of
Oh,
Eliane Radig, Chris, I think,
cello player.
cello player,
Oh,
and ah, Charles Curtis, Charles
oh,
Curtis.
all right.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
yeah.
This this
It's the record is insanely good. Like when I discovered it, it was like I had like shit. How could I miss that? So many years, and I know why. Because like if you notice that this guy becomes famous in the avant-garde scene, and you realize that he did stuff that was more rock before, you might think, maybe that was like he found his way
yeah.
later on. It's like there's this guy you might know. Um, you know Matt Valentine
Um.
from the Tower recordings. Matt Valentine and Eric Adder.
Oh,
Basically,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's doing music. You would like it, Paul, as well. He's doing American primitive with a huge uh, avant-garde aspect to it, but it's really Americana. Um
Yeah,
but really good
but really
musicians.
good. Sure.
It's like John Fahey gone super psychedelic, drony, and very lots of tension, and also very minimalistic sometimes. But like he got like Chris Corsano playing sometimes, like Dean Roberts doing electronics. But he started out, I realized recently, in a band in the 90s called the Werefrogs, whom I saw live. It's an American guy who was signed on the British like indie label, and they were the grunge signing, and of course like they were okay, but like they were not gonna go anywhere. And I would never have made the connection unless I was like the big nerd like train spotter that I am. And and it was just fun because I saw them live actually, like maybe 92 or so. And for me the music was so different, so disconnected, that sometimes like for this guy like Charles Curtis, I would, if I knew I knew he did some rock stuff before, and I was like not sure. And when you hear it, like of course that record is both avant-garde and like post-rock, and he does both
Yeah.
like sublime. But yeah, who would have known?
Obviously,
I
when you
I
say rock, you don't mean like Kiss, do you?
No, well, for me there's academic music, jazz, and popular music. It's a kind of how I like. For me, techno, Kiss, Bootlegs, it's the same in a way. It's not music that needs to be studied, and
No, I see what you mean.
jazz, yeah, yeah. And I think it's quite healthy to look at it that way. Of course, when we go deeper in details, like, but and that's what I try to do with my channel when I play music, to talk about like Britney's, like not, yeah, if there was a Britney Spears song, to not talk about it in a different way than I would talk about Stockhausen
Mm.
or
That's very,
yeah.
very noble, Stanti, very noble. But the thing I like about your channel is you play stuff that no one else plays, mate. That's what's great about your
yeah.
channel. You play stuff that no one else does. Do you know what I mean? Every time I tune in, you're always playing something I don't know. It's great, you know.
Yeah.
Need
Well,
more of that.
I'm
Very
sure
unknown.
there are other people, but really, really, what I think
Who
I
are
do,
they?
or
Come
what I
on,
want
who
to do
are
is
they?
to. Well, Alex, for example, who's here, he's playing a lot of music like that. But
I'm
what I
joking. I'm
want to,
joking.
and like there's a guy who I'm obsessed with his channel. No one will be here, but like he's got like one of the best freestyle channels, like the style of music that is called freestyle from the 80s. No one cares about that. He goes so deep into it. Like if you're mildly interested in that, his channel is mind blowing. But no one cares about that. What I want to do
No.
is just like to to talk in with joy about all that, so that like if I talk about something with joy, when you see me talk with the same joy about something you don't know, so it already breaks a barrier, hopefully a little bit.
Yes.
And I
Well,
think
it's
that's
nice.
what, yeah, and I think that's what the VC allows us to do. Everyone can do that if they want. And
Yeah.
the fact that we see, Paul, you're in London. I'm in on an island in the forest in Stockholm. Jose is in Mexico, and we're all talking live right now.
El Salvador.
Yeah.
El Salvador, yeah. It's
That is the wonder of the internet, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, if we did take advantage of that potential to be angry at each other, that would be pretty. That
Yeah.
wouldn't be really much of a.
Yeah, there's a lot of yelling sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't need all that in my life. I don't need that all my life, and you just don't need it, man. You know what I mean?
yeah, like Paul reminded me of a record I had heard one time only, and I loved it, but I had kind of put on the side in my mind. And you playing that Prince Buster
Oh, Prince
7 inch, like,
Buster. Yeah,
yeah,
dancing
just
time.
dancing time. And yeah, for me it was the dancing time tune. Oh my god, I still like, it's just so incredible that such simple music can be done in such yeah, it's difficult to make such simple music. For him it was simple, but
Hmm.
and he probably
Well, he
didn't
had great
even,
musicians, though, Stunty, didn't he? He had great musicians. Do you know what I
he
mean?
had great musicians.
Yeah.
You know about like, I have a friend over here, a techno producer, who's very, he's not very famous, but he's very much in demand. He's also been a ghost writer, very much in demand for much bigger artists than himself. And
Ah.
he does a lot of music, a lot. And whenever you meet him and he plays you a bunch of his latest tunes, he always will tell you this one is so good. And I always think, no, but that one will do good. And he's the worst at judging himself. He has no
Yeah.
clue. He's
That's
so talented.
difficult, though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You need someone other than yourself. You need a third person to really judge your work, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Because you're so caught up in it. It's very difficult,
yeah. Maybe
sometimes.
not everyone, but a lot of them. Yeah,
Also, you can be very talented but not have a commercial ear. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like I mean, what's interesting with Pedro's label is that he could, because he took the chance of contacting big names in the underground. They said yes, good for him. He could have
Mm.
done his label doing just that and taking no risk, no chance, because you know that like putting
Yeah.
out like a 200 copies limited edition of Merzbow, you
Yeah.
can, you know, you're not taking a big risk, right, Jose?
No.
Yeah,
Well, but that's interesting because sometimes for me it's so crazy. Once I started like pressing stuff, when people say it's limited to 1,000, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of records. Like mobilization. Like for me, the biggest thing is shipping, because
yeah,
it, at least where because I live in Mexico, a postal service, you can only pay in cash. I don't know if you can pay in with a card somewhere else, but you can only pay in cash, and it's sometimes so interesting to, you have to write everything, declare everything, and I always try to declare everything like the lowest I can, so nobody has problems, because shipping in the UK, the EU, it's so weird. And so I have
They add tax.
distributors now. What?
They add tax. So if you're
Yeah.
sending it to the UK, it's over a certain amount. We have to pay value added
Yes.
tax. Now, there's no
It's so,
value
it's so
added
weird.
to it at all. It's just a tax. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Because
it's so weird
they
how
regard music
it
as
works.
a luxury.
Yeah, yeah, because it's, yes, I get it, but it's sometimes so interesting. So I try to help out if I can with UK and EU
Yeah.
buyers. It's
Well,
because
that would
it
be
gets very,
appreciated because it costs a fortune. You know what I mean?
yeah. I also have distributors in Europe, in the UK, in the US right now. So I ship them out a lot of records, and they ship it out, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. But the ones that I sell through Bandcamp, um,
Yeah.
which is maybe 60% of where I sell, I have to ship them all out. And it's interesting because most people are like, I don't want to track something from Mexico to wherever I am. It's a
Yeah.
very specific type of situation because it's as quick as any other place. Because once it goes out of here, you can track it from your country, But sometimes people just don't like the whole experience of having to uh, look into tracking it from a Spanish website and then track it all the
Yeah.
way over there. But yeah, it's so weird for me to see sometimes independent labels that have like 5,000, um, 2,000 records. It's so
But
just so weird.
but like Alex here is asking for the name of your label,
Oh, Aurora
but
Central. Oh, can you write
you
it? Can
can
I write
write
it?
it maybe. But what I was this was very interesting. But what I was interested in is that I see right now there's all these Russian labels, for example, who take advantage of the fact that like they get like privileged access to the reissuing discography of Coil, Muslim Goes, and all that.
Oh,
And it's easy to do that. Basically, you just need to have the initial investment, and then you
is
do
that
it, and you'll
Impact?
make money.
Mhm.
What I mean uh, is that you also put out local music, stuff that you have invested
Yes.
in, which for me is crucial. Like that's how I take a label seriously and I respect them. Like I mean, of course, like it's like in the end, it's just me buying a record. Wait a second, Michael. And
I wish that I could only release local artists, but it has to be a mixture, at least at the beginning, because that's
yeah,
how you get a lot of people interested in what you release. But because when I try to just doing it local, and I'm not even kidding, most of the time, like 90% of what I sell, it's not even in this continent.
yeah.
That's how I would put it. Most labels that I know of from here also tells me the same. It's like you have a lot of great artists that you want to support, but if you don't release music from other artists, it gets like nobody it's that much
If
interested.
you
That's
don't
why.
do it, yeah, because if you don't do it, basically the world becomes smaller, but not in a good way, and
Yeah,
because mm, wait, uh, uh,
I don't have anything.
wait a second, there. Salut, Michael.
Fresh, fresh from the beach, believe it or
Nice.
not.
Oh, nice.
Belgium beach. So you mean lots of
Yeah,
concrete, right? And
no, no,
stones.
no, no, no. The
That's
beach
No.
is unbelievable. The beach is unbelievable. I have a question for Jose. That's why I'm coming up because I find it always so striking. You say you do a lot of pressing over at Czechoslovakia, right?
Yes.
Why don't you ship from the pressing plant when it is in Europe, when you have orders from Europe? I always say same with Blue Note. They do the classic series in Germany, then they ship them back, and then they ship them to Germany. It's insane.
Well, with the pressing plant that I work at, I tried to make that happen once, where they could ship it to Sound they release a lot of our they sell a
Yeah,
lot of our records, and
we know Soundom
I
very well.
tried to do that. They were getting like 100 records at least, and I asked if they could send 100 to them and then send all the other records to me, but they say it was not possible because they have to ship
It's
all the
insane,
records.
isn't it?
It is. I was
It's insane.
so close. I was so close to go
Uh,
the to get the records myself because I thought it was so insane that I was maybe gonna have 50 records for me in Mexico, and then all the other
yes,
records are going to go to the US or Europe.
but what you can do, there are a lot of fulfillment companies in Europe, at least in Europe.
Okay.
Tell them to send those to the fulfillment company. Tell them send 75 copies to this fulfillment in Europe, and they will take 1, 2, 3 euros shipping for sending them. It would be so much better. Just find a fulfillment company. There are
I
tons
will.
here in Europe.
Thanks for the
We'll
recommendation.
help you out. We'll help you out with that if we can.
Yeah, because it gets very frustrating to ship out records most of the time. Because right now, at least for me, I know people get frustrated with bigger labels that are like 2 months behind a schedule, but it's so
Yeah.
weird for little labels when they tell me in a month you're gonna have the records, and then 2 months after the date they gave me, they send it to me. So I have to justify a lot of the times to people like, hey, you know what?
I can imagine.
And we're only a very small label, so most of the time I have to write all the emails like, it's coming. Sorry, it's because the last Mersbo titles, they actually shipped us half of it first and then half of it later.
Yeah.
Because
For those watching who don't know, Mersbo is like probably the biggest name in history of noise music. He's a Japanese noise artist, and most of his music has been released on CD. There's not that many vinyl, and Jose is releasing 2 albums of him on vinyl.
In the meantime, there are quite some. But
Yeah.
shoot me, but I say everybody should have a Merzbau album, but only one. One is enough.
And Jose is actually soon putting out. We joked about it privately. He's putting out the PG-13 Mersbo album.
Yes,
which
yes, I am.
Okay.
It's ambient.
Cool.
It's, I think you would like, if you like Nurse with Wound, if you like Coil, especially like music to play in the dark, if you like those sort of things, there's a great album coming. I just got the test pressings. It won't be till next year, but it's called Virectens. I think that's how you pronounce it. But I've been releasing a lot of first time on vinyl from him. He's a great guy. Masami Akita, that's his real name. He's such a great guy. Sometimes it's like when you talk about like the jacket and everything, I sometimes get very nervous because most of the time when I talk to artists, especially when I'm doing reissues, there's a lot of artists that don't have anything. When I mean anything, I mean not artwork, not anything. So it's sometimes very interesting, especially in noise, when people are like, they just did what they could to release whatever they could at the time.
Yeah.
And
but with Merzbau, there are some amazing Merzbau jackets out there.
Oh no, yeah. Mostly the new stuff is amazing. And what I did for mine is I had to ask the original label that was a little hesitant about it to give me the actual artwork, because Masami didn't have it, and his wife did the artwork, and she didn't have the artwork, so it was such an interesting thing. And then he redid the gatefold inner artwork, and there was a little part that was like pixelated, but he was like, that's how I wanted it, and I was like, okay. So you have to work with the artist and get them what they want. But all for the next 2 or 3 releases I'm doing, I did the artwork myself completely. So there was no issues with that.
There's an interesting connection with. Bye, Paul. By the way, we're soon going to end it because I have almost 0 battery left.
All right,
and that was totally but maybe we can do it more often. It's fun. It's been some time now. But another artist another very prolific artist that Mersbo is connected with is Muslim Goes, because they both release some of their best stuff on the Extreme record, the the Australian label. And
Yep.
just a sec. There we go. Yeah,
Madam Sin
Paul
is
is back. And what's interesting is that when in Muslim Goes, Bryn Jones, he died in 1999, I believe. And since then, there's been a lot of added interest in him, much more than while he was living. And there's been lots of stories told about him, and contradicting ones about his artwork, the fact that the whole supporting of the Hamas and all that, was it him or was it the label that hyped their releases that way, and that he had... Merzbow
like
is
that
different because he's
controversy.
still alive, but like imagine an artist that is so extreme. If he was dead, if he had passed away, like the potential of hyping his music in the most extreme and weird ways. Like there's always this thing that is, for me, is quite interesting, how there can be a dissonance between what the artist stood for and how his music is marketed since he passed,
Yeah,
especially in
Coil-
underground music.
But Stanti, when you say this is all, not all, but it's heavy marketing with Muslim Goes, but the titles are there.
He didn't choose the titles. That's what
Are
that's
you
the
sure?
thing. Is
Okay.
the guy from Extreme? If you
Wow.
look at the, he told me that the releases he did with him, he are the only ones that had full acoustic recordings, because he paid musicians in studio sessions for them. And that's his opinion. That's what he told me directly, that the releases on his most popular labels, which are Stahlplatt and Soleil Moon, they created a whole universe that was a huge exaggeration. Yes, he was converted to Islam. Yes, he was going to the mosque in Manchester, but he never went like on trips to these countries. He never donated money to terrorist organizations or whatever.
Oh, I have to reply. I'm not that big of a loser, because I just smoke when I'm in holiday. That belongs to holiday for me.
Well, Coil is also a very interesting band, since both of them have passed away. I guess that most of the time,
Okay.
Stunty's done.
Yeah, maybe it's better.
That's typical. He's left his own show, Michael. What can you say, eh?
Yeah.
Terrible.
Nice.
Those sweets, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any original pressings?
You take over. Turn on the 45. And let's see. Come, put the 45 for us. Come.
Yeah.
Come.
Let's see some 45s. Have you got any 45s there that you've pressed yourself?
No. I'm in my childhood home. That's why I have all those things behind me.
Okay.
I'm visiting my parents. I actually came to renew my passport. So I'm just here for like 2 or 3 weeks. I don't have anything.
Where do you live normally?
Well, so I have a very interesting, diverse
I think
family.
Paul.
My mom's full German. Okay. Michael, because it's schlecht. No. Don't make me talk German, please.
Schnell.
Schnell, fast. Yeah, no, don't make me speak German, because it's bad. But I'm a German citizen. I am a
German citizen. Okay.
Yes, that's why I came here, because my passport from Botschaft in San Salvador, it's way faster than doing it in Mexico, because it's Mexico City and I don't live in Mexico City. So I came here to do it, because my mom's German, but my father is from El Salvador, and everybody in my family lives somewhere else. So it's a lot of people and places that are different. But I don't have anything I used to have a lot of things from my label here, but I sold them. And
right, because you do such small runs as well, don't you? Just do limited pressings, is that right?
Yeah, well, I guess we do limited pressings, but we do a lot of reissues and represses. So it's I
Okay.
wouldn't say that it's like I wish I didn't have to, but since
Mm.
the label is only 3 years old basically, because the other half it was just like for friends. I used to do tapes and records just as a hobby, but I started working on this. Um, but I wish I didn't have to, but it's such a big investment to start a label,
I can
especially when
imagine.
you have like well-known artists, but also have local artists, which
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of people want to explore but are too afraid. The Spanish barrier too, it's a very big thing for people sometimes. That's why I
Oh,
think experimental music, because I've sent some to Stunty and he's like them. When That's why I like experimental music, because most of the time when it's instrumental, it helps a lot to break that barrier of like,
Sure. Yeah.
because it's a that's my biggest issue so far sometimes with local artists, is that even if I have distribution outside, like Sonam or Norman Records in the UK, there's a lot of people that are still like, well, let me listen to it, because it's especially with hard like doom metal bands that I released, or like folk acts. Most of the times, because it's very lyrical, I guess
Mm.
people are a little afraid of like get into that.
But surely in America, there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in America, aren't there?
you know,
No, yeah, I like I said a little.
more than in San Salvador. More.
Millions
Oh
are
yeah,
there not?
Millions.
yeah, yeah. I know.
Isn't it now a bigger language in California than English, Spanish?
Might
Yeah,
very
probably
well
yes.
be.
Yeah, it could be. There's too many people from here over there. My experience is that, but that's another point that I would like to make, is that
Mm.
a lot of people from Latin America
Have to
in
go.
bye. Good to meet you. The problem with a lot of people that live in the US that speak Spanish is that most of them have, if they live there, they are very used to listening to very different stuff. It's like so weird
Yeah.
to me. It's
What
like all the
traditional Mexican music, as opposed to what, say,
no, not
doom
even that.
metal.
It's not even that. It's like salsa and which I don't know anyone outside of the US that speaks Spanish that listens to it. I mean, of course there are, but it's one of, you know, it's so interesting to see like what people think Latin music is, because to me
Mm,
there's like that there's garage, there's rock, there's a lot of ska was
mm,
so big here, metal is so big here. And
mm.
when I go to the US and people talk like hey, I'm gonna put some Latin music or whatever, they always put very interesting music. A lot of music does come from Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, but it's so different from what actual people listen to outside.
Yeah. Why do
It's
you
like,
reckon that Mexicans like Morrissey so much?
well, I don't know. That's a good question. I know for a fact that the Smiths is like so famous in Mexico.
They're
Mexicans
huge, aren't
love. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge, especially the Smiths,
they?
Joy
Yeah.
Division, Arctic
Yeah, Joy
Monkeys.
Division. Mm.
It's so huge. Because I've seen, um, what's the guy's name from New Order? Peter Tosh. Yeah, no, go
Oh,
ahead.
Peter Hook.
Peter Hook and the Light. What is it?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
they go to Mexico every single weekend if they can, because
Hmm.
people really love them. It's
Wow.
so weird because
So
I
it's not
mean,
just Ian Curtis they're into. They like the whole band. They like all the
yes,
musicians in the band. It's not an Ian Curtis thing, say.
No. Well, British music in general in Latin America, it's huge. I mean,
Interesting.
because I grew up listening to a lot of Robert Wyatt, a lot, which I don't know if it's normal. I guess it's not, but Robert Wyatt has a lot of love for Spanish and a lot of love for like Latin uh things. He even has
Yeah,
some because he's like communist. He has like communist music from Spanish. Like he sings it.
yeah,
It's so weird, but
yeah,
his fascination with Spain. He lived there. Kevin Ayers from Soft Machine did too. Made a lot of people from here to start paying attention to his music. And Pink Floyd is huge. You can't understand how huge Pink Floyd is in Latin America.
would you say they're bigger than the Beatles?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for
That's
sure,
what's
for sure.
interesting. You see, when you go abroad, you get a different perspective, don't you? Do you know what I
But
mean?
I've like, what's your like your perspective on the Beatles like right now over there? Do you think it's mostly like people remembering it, or do you think it's still like an active?
Nah, because if you live through the '60s like I did,
Yeah,
you'll remember the Beatles as a boy band. They were just another
yeah,
boy band, like the Bay City Rollers. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
we had to sing those songs at school. We were forced to sing, stuff like Submarine. So you grew up hating that sort of music. Do you know what I mean? The
yeah.
last thing you want is that kind of thing. And during the whole punk era, the Beatles were probably the most unpopular group in England. You
Oh
know,
yes,
and they were just seen as really naff, as something really sort of square that your mum and dad liked. Now, when John Lennon was assassinated in
yeah,
1980, suddenly there was this whole revisionism. Oh, we've got to look at this band, the Beatles. Aren't they amazing? Oh, they're so amazing. They can write their own songs. Like no one had ever done it before. Do you know what I mean? Like Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry didn't exist. So it was this
yeah.
whole revisionism. They've done it with the punk era, but in America it's completely different, because in America they've always loved the Beatles. Now they will jump over 1,000 Chuck Berry records to get
Yeah,
to a really naff Beatles cover. Like, do you know what I mean? They'll ignore
yeah.
Chuck Berry to get to them doing Roll Over Beethoven, for example. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas in Europe, we prefer the original music, which of course is American music. Do you know what I mean? Because we don't want to hear the covers because it's boring, you know?
Yeah, that's I mean, that's something that I grew up listening to a lot over here. Like nationally, there's a lot of cover bands. People like to do covers and stuff like that. But like I said, I was not. There was a question that somebody made the other day. It's like, what type of bands have you got into because of like watching YouTube videos? And
Yeah.
in all honesty, it's like I was never a big Beatles fan. Like,
No.
I know my
Well,
sister
why would you
was.
be?
Yeah, I know, but well, because it was popular. Like you say, it was a big boy band, if you want to see it like that.
Yeah.
But like my mom would listen to so much different stuff. Like I do have some 45s uh that she gave me away recently, and it's just like so different type of music that normal people would listen to, that I got used to it. But yeah, it's like I don't get why people love so much the Beatles in the US. But it's like you said, in the US there's a lot of people listening to UK music, and now you telling me that people in the UK are listening to a lot of American music.
Well,
And
we always have done since the 50s.
yeah,
Well, before that, since the jazz era, because the only real English music is music hall.
yeah,
Guys, Leslie Saroni, guys like that. After the 20s, from the 30s onwards, it's been aping American music, jazz, big band. The whole thing during the war was all American music. Do you know what I mean? All the big
yeah,
bands were modeled
yeah.
on American music. Then in the 50s, it was rock and roll. And we had our versions of rock and roll. We had an English Elvis. You know, we didn't have an English Chuck Berry, but we had our sort of version of it. But it was still American music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do get that, but
Yeah.
like in my perspective, for me, like, because since I grew up with so much British music, I like a lot of prog music, and for me, like, hey, we stayed. We knew
Stunty.
you were back.
Yeah, my battery died and I had to run home. I was
Yeah, don't
it was
worry.
in the
Yeah.
middle of my jogging.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
worry.
terrible setup you have there.
Somebody
Nice.
said the Matching Mole album. I love that album.
We kept your show going for you, Stunty. It's okay. You can thank
Thank you
us
so
later.
much.
No
I thought it
problem.
would be like that. I didn't know. By the
Yeah,
way,
don't worry,
guys,
don't worry.
you talking about Matching Mall?
Yeah, somebody mentioned Matching Mole.
Do you guys know why they call Matching Mall?
Yeah, it's a French word sounding name for a soft machine. Is that?
Yeah, Machine Mall means soft
Oh,
machine.
brilliant!
Oh, that yeah. I like that.
Like Marcel Duchamp with the urinal.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one.
I enjoy Robert Wyatt a lot. I think Soft Machine is one of my favorite bands. I don't know why, but the second Soft Machine album, they actually sing in Spanish in Dava. That's the name of the song. I love that song. I don't know. It's so weird. Why it's there. It starts with the English alphabet just to make like a little joke at the end of the song. It's great. I enjoy that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were really
Who else?
popular in London. Well, they're the
The Soft-
Canterbury band, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, Caravan, Egg. I'm a big Camel fan too. I don't know why, but I prog music when I was a kid was like the greatest thing. I mean, I still listen to a lot, but I've gone a little farther away from like normal bands, I guess, because to me, like if you ask me if I think Pink Floyd is prog, I don't know why I said controversial, but I don't think Pink Floyd is the least prog band in all the prog movement. I don't know why people have them like. If you listen to King Crimson or if you listen to Soft Machine, Egg, Caravan, all these bands, they just didn't sound like that. And maybe it's just a different thing, maybe beginning, but it just sounds so different.
I have to confess, I've never heard Pink Floyd. I mean, I've only heard the Syd Barrett, Pipers at the Gates of Dawn. That's the only Pink Floyd I've ever heard.
Well, I'm almost in your
I've never
category.
heard Dark Side of the Moon, for example. So I honestly couldn't tell you.
No, Paul, that's not true. You're like me. You've heard it, but you've never listened to it.
I haven't, Stunty. I've never heard it. No one's ever played it in my presence or dared to.
It's been around you while you were shopping or something. It's statistically.
You think so?
Yeah.
What, Dark Side of the Moon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Shopping, really? Would they play that in Sainsbury's?
Yeah, I'm close to you in terms of exposure to Pink Floyd because I really like my first band when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
The first live show we did, someone told us that we sounded like Pink Floyd, but much more psychedelic, and I took much offense in that comment. So
yes, as you would.
Yeah.
Deeply insulted, I'm sure you were.
Yeah, and a friend of mine gave me his mom's old Pink Floyd albums from the original pressings, and I thought, okay, I'll give them a chance. And I thought it was horrendous stuff. I kept Uma Guma for profile, so that when people come to me and they say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about," no, I have actually kept one, but it's the one that I guess is the closest to something I could enjoy. But no, I don't. Even that I think is there's something cheesy about that. But I must say that I think the greatest offense with Pink Floyd is the singing. Like there are some albums that I could you know, the album with the guy in flame.
Yes, with the shaking hands. Yeah.
Yeah. Some music there I find actually, yeah, I could go for that, but as soon as he starts singing, okay, no, this is not possible. This
No,
is
I
just
didn't even know they had a singer. So there you go.
Well, actually,
Because
now you
how can
mentioned,
you Sid Barrett?
yeah,
I
well, you
have,
mentioned Sid
yeah.
Barrett. Do you like?
How can
Have you
beat
listened to
Sid?
his solo stuff? Have you listened
His
to his
solo
solo
stuff?
stuff?
I fucking
Yeah, I
love
have
it.
them. I have
Yeah, it's great, right?
yeah.
What, Baby Lemonade, Gigolo on, all that stuff. I love it, mate.
Yeah.
Love it.
Love Song. Yeah. It's I
love all
actually,
the solo Sid stuff.
yeah, I love those records a lot. Somebody mentioned that, and it's
Dirty
true.
Hot.
Robert Wyatt playing that, and they play his. I don't know how many songs they played in the album on the first one, but I know it was his band, at least for the recording of it.
There's a great BBC session Sid Barrett did that's really good.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
from the sessions. They're really good, really stripped down, you know.
Soft Machine BBC sessions are also really good. They I think it was in Top Gear. I think it was, or something.
Yeah, Top
like
Gear. Top Gear was the one came between Perfume Garden and the other show. Yeah.
Moon. I think Moon in June is there. They play that with a weird lyrics. They were like saying like we're literally here in Top Gear playing. I was like, all right, but it's fun. I enjoy that. Nick Mason, the drummer for Pink Floyd, he produced Robert Wyatt's second album. And
you know,
so
Paul,
there's
you actually, I figured that you actually have heard Pink Floyd at least by proxy.
Yeah.
For your good friend Alex.
Oh, do you think I have?
I mean, most of the early Orb records are homage to Pink Floyd, even the artwork.
Yeah, he wouldn't admit that though. He'd say it all comes from Bob Marley, wouldn't he? He would though. He'd say it all comes from reggae. You know what Alex is like. He never admit it comes from Floyd. It all comes from Studio One. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you look at the
You're right though.
Yeah, the artwork is direct homage to Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Like at least 3 of their albums are homage to Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Look, I have some 45s here that I found.
Hey, let's have a look.
I mean, same like I said, I'm looking for like presents from here that I want to take back home, because I just found it fascinating that they exist. It's like, look, this is David Bowie's Fame, but pressed here in El Salvador.
Nice.
It's just this is my mom's.
Nice
little sleeves, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is
Cool.
pressed in German, but the other ones was pressed over there. Let's see. I mean, I used to buy 45s a lot when I was a kid. It's like the Rolling Stones, but there's pressed in El Salvador too. I think if you take it out, you can see it. It says like Centro America, some stuff like that.
Yeah.
El Salvador, there you go. So weird.
Right.
It's like, and there's a lot of people that want these just for the novelty of them. Most of them sound okay. I guess sometimes they're just like weird. Like a Queen one. I don't even like Queen. I have this Queen 45 here.
Well, the thing with people that collect stuff like that, they're completists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like Elvis and Beatles fans. They need to have everything. They need every single thing. And not only do they need every single, they need 20 copies of it as well. You know.
Stunty will love this. This is Yoko Ono 45 press here.
Nice. What year is that?
Man, the label is so weird.
Mangled.
I don't know where it is, but it's John Lennon's mother, and then the other side is Y.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, but I just found it, you know what I mean? But it's so weird, so interesting how I've got like 4 or 5 times I've got a message through Discogs on people that see that I have that record or like that 45, because there's only like 10 people in Discogs that have that 45 or whatever, and they always ask me like, "Hey, can you sell it to me? Can you sell it to me?" And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to sell it just because I found it and it's from my country, and it's not because I like the artist as much. It's just sometimes it's just like a little part of history for me.
Sure.
That's why most of the times when I come here or in Guatemala, Costa Rica, I always try to find these records because it's just like so weird. That's why I show that Lennon. I don't want this to be a Beatle thing at all. That's why I show this, just because it says El Salvador. You know what I mean? Because it's just so damn impossible to find these. But
you want to check if Maz has got that LP?
yeah, probably he probably does. He probably.
God bless you.
I'm not your son. I'm the Negro who lives in the house with you.
That's quite. You'll be fed this week.
Will I? Oh,
Yes.
thank you, Mr. Bastard.
You'll get food, and you won't be.
Oh, Lord, Mr. Henry.
Conversation with you. Right. It's just the slaves. They're revolting. There we go.
Somebody. Oh, Michael wrote Sid Barrett first album. Yeah, that's great. Loretta Lynn died. Yeah, 45 Brazilian press. What?
Coal miner's daughter, isn't it, Loretta Lynn? Did you ever see that film, The Sissy Spacek?
No.
No, I don't think I do.
Oh, she's good in that, Sissy Spacek. Very good. She does all the singing herself. She's got a great voice.
What's the name of the movie?
It's Coal Miner's Daughter. It's got Levon Helm from the band. You know, the drummer from the band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's
He
acting
acted,
in it.
right? He acted
Yeah.
in like a 2-3 film. That's
But
an interesting era, right?
Jose, when you get that, like people contacting you on Discogs, can you sell me that? That happens to me obviously as well, and I always reply even when I don't want to, which it's a bit tricky. I always reply, "Make me an offer I can't say no to."
That sounds cool. What
The problem is that sometimes the guy understands and makes that. Because most of the time it's fun because you say it like when you say it that way, there's no room for interpretation normally, and still you will get people who will give you a price that is below like the median price on Discogs or something or whatever. Like when I say make me an offer I can't say no to, it means like show me how more wealthy you are than me, show me that the class system still exists and that I'm your lower self.
Yes, that's exactly how it should work, Stunty.
Actually, I actually got a message like a week ago about a Billy Joel 45 that I have here. It's from Central America too. It does says over there. And
oui. Non, je vais y penser là. Je vais y penser.
What do you think? So how much do you reckon you could get for that Billy Joel one, Jose?
Oh, sorry. I muted Jose.
Oh, all right. Don't worry. Is it on?
Yeah. It's on.
Oh. He offered me $75 for this Billy Joel.
Oh, fucking take it, mate. Fucking take that. $75 all day long, mate, for a Billy Joel record.
Look,
get to the post office now.
Look, it even has the original sleeve. Dissonance was the label from here. But it's like, because when I was a kid, I used to buy them. I didn't care what it was, as long as I could listen to something. And it's just so interesting how people didn't want them when I was a kid.
Isn't Billy Joel kind of like? Would it be fair to say that he's probably in the top 3 most boring artists ever?
Yes,
that made it big. Big name artists that also.
Well, he has a. Have you ever heard his metal album?
Of course,
Heavy
I
rock.
haven't.
You haven't? Well,
No.
it
No.
was before. It was look. I'll say this. It's worth looking at it because you're gonna say like, how does that sound? It was his first project before he went like solo, which I don't know. I don't think
Oh, the
people.
first band he was in,
Yeah, it
that
was.
made in
Uh, what was his name? Attila, like Attila the Hun. The
yeah, I can't remember what they're called. I've seen
Yeah,
the cover.
You see, he's like with meats and stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've never
I'll
heard
say
it.
this. Here in Latin America, there's a lot of artists that play rock music or ska, and they also have like a super poppy, very mellow band. So I myself, I love movies, albums. They're like nobody wants to listen to them, like Squeeze by the Velvet Underground, like the Clash's. What's the name? Stop That Crap. What is that name? The last Clash album.
The last one, what, the Sandinista one?
No.
No,
It's
I
like
can't
when the guy left. Oh damn! I have to
Oh.
look it up.
When Mick Jones left, or when Joe Strummer left.
Well, yeah, cut the crap. Cut the crap. That's
Right.
me. I love those movies that shouldn't exist. Like
yeah,
from
of course, we
from
love them,
DOS
but
from DOS till
The
Dawn
Velvet
3.
Underground's great, though, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, the Squeeze. Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I think Doug Yule is very underrated, personally.
Super
And I know
underrated,
Velvet fans they won't agree with me. They don't like Doug Yule, but
Yeah, cut the
I
crap.
think he was great. You know what I mean?
You saw the documentary? They released?
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't like
I
it.
was I was very disappointed they left Doug out. To be
Well,
honest,
he didn't agree to be on the documentary. He said that
oh,
he didn't want to. But still, it's like they only focused on Lou Reed, John Cale, and the first two albums. Basically, that's it.
yeah.
They mentioned
Which is when it's
Yeah.
just getting going. It's the third album when they really hit their mark, isn't it? It's the
Yeah,
third
yeah.
album when they get rid of
Yes.
Cale and all that awful
Yeah.
fucking viola. You know what I mean?
I like
then
Cale
you
a lot.
can hear what Lou's singing, can't you? You can actually hear his lyrics for the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, what a revelation! What a poet this guy is. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, because Doc
know.
Yule sang very pretty in the self-titled album. He's great there. I think Lou Reed got very, very like it was a little like a little war between them, like because he was started singing and he started like composing, but I enjoy the Velvet Underground more with him because Load even I don't know everything is fine with me, but I like Lou Reed solo stuff, John Cale stuff, but as far as the Velvet Underground goes, the self-titled for me it's the best album they did.
I've met
I think
both
so.
in real life, and they were both pathetic, totally pathetic.
Yes.
People.
John Cale?
I mean, of course, it was in the 2000s. Yeah, I met
Yeah.
Cale.
I met John Cale. He was a complete arsehole.
Yeah,
He really was.
nice.
I never met
hope
Lou.
you-
I mean, I must say, I never met Lou Reed. You know, what can I say? It doesn't come over
I met
very
him,
well, does he, Lou?
I met him with Laurie Anderson. They were.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. They were visiting.
How was
a
he? Was
friend
he-
privately?
Was he a wanker or?
He was. He looked. He was physically pathetic. And,
Yes. He's always had terrible hair, hasn't he, Lou?
Yeah, and like he
Great,
wasn't
great,
he,
great
like
Jewish
there was
hair.
some. Yeah, there was something really pathetic about it. Basically, he was visiting a friend of mine who was giving them both a Tai Chi lesson, or like,
Oh God! Look,
basically they.
his Tai Chi master.
Oh, I saw that guy live. He's
you?
Tai Chi master. It was like 4 or 5 years ago in
Yeah.
New York. It's what's the name of the? There's a festival that's like free for everyone. Patty Smith play on that. I'll remember. I remember the name of the little festival, but he was there. He opened the show with the Tai Chi and all, because he and it was Patti Smith's daughter play there. It was so interesting. But I saw that guy. It's like, why would I see that? I don't know. But he was there performing, I guess, like a Tai Chi live event. I don't know what to say, but it was interesting.
I think Lou just took himself a little seriously, didn't he? You know what I mean? Shame, really, because great pedigree, you know?
Yeah. Well,
For me, Lou Reed is kind of like an American Brian Eno, in a way.
yeah,
Like that, someone who wanted to be more than his
yes,
pop music, rock nature, and who showed his in rock. He probably had no limits, but like when he did what he wanted to do, or when he entered the world he wanted to be a part of, he showed his limits very quickly.
Yes,
Which
exactly. Yeah, within the realm of rock and roll, he's a master, isn't he?
yeah.
But once you step outside that, it's a very different. It's a big bad world out there, isn't it? You know what I mean?
actually, one of my first noise records that I ever listened to, and probably one of the one that I can say to you, like, it changed my life just because I didn't know that existed.
Machine.
I was very young. Yes, I first time that I put it, I didn't know if he released this as a joke. I didn't know anything. I went to a thrift store, got the CD, went home, and I was just like,
you were angry. You were angry.
No, I was so like, wow, what is this? Because I saw there's like a lot of instruments listed on the back or in the front, some CDs, and it's so wild. And he has all this photos of him, like you know, with the sunglasses and the hair and everything. I just didn't know if it was a silly album or if it was a serious album, but I loved it. I don't know why. I have like a quad pressing of that, which is amazing if you ever have the opportunity, because it's the same album for the quad system, but the other two speakers are playing the same track but backwards. So you're like in a tornado of getting fucked with horrible sounds, and it's great. But I still don't know if he did it on purpose or not. Most people say it's just like a joke, but he did play that live. There's a CD of him playing that live.
You know, I have never read anything about it, so it's just speculation, and I might be completely off. I'm sure that John, the Pinot Gary, knows some about it, but and maybe Paul actually. But I think he didn't meant it as a joke, but I think there was lots of drugs, and that he was in all over his head when he was doing it, and that's why it's interesting that it exists, but that the result is really. If you're into that kind of music, I mean, if it's an entry point as it was for Jose, then fine. But if you already are into art music, sound art, and stuff like that, I'm not sure it holds the. Yeah.
I guess it's interesting mainly because if he did it because he did liked it, I think it's interesting. It's like, I know people hate those John Lennon and Yoko albums, but at least he was mocking his own audience. I guess if you could see it, anything possible, it was like, because I love, there's the second album they did, the Sleeping with Lions or whatever the name of it is. On the back, there's a photo of Lennon with a cop, and it says in like a quote from John Martin, right? His producer or whatever. It says no comment, and that's it. And I love that because he probably listened to that and it's like, this is shit, like this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, how can you release this? And that type of attitude I like, because it's a little refreshing to know that hardcore Beatle fans hate those records. So I love that they exist.
Almost worth liking them for that, isn't it? You know what I
mean? Yeah, I mean,
I don't hate Yoko. You know what I mean? If Yoko split up the Beatles, I fucking love her. You know what I mean? Good job done, Yoko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Like, at least they were the first major artist to like try to do something completely weird, I guess. Oh
Yeah, see, this is the weirdest thing ever.
no, look, I'll talk about that. I'll say this because I've always kept it dear in my heart, and I can't talk to about it to anyone else. That Lou Reed album, it's a great Lou Reed album, a
Is it?
horrible Metallica album. That's it.
Right.
Look, the last two records Lou Reed released before that, including The Raven, it's basically spoken word, Edgar Allan Poe stuff, and very. It's all spoken word basically. Even Bowie
So he did a
is
reading of The Raven, did he, Lou? He did a reading of The Raven.
well, that's the name of the album. He read a lot of parts based
Is
on
it Poe though? Is
on
it the Edgar Allan Poe?
Yes,
All
it's
right.
just called The Raven. He did it live too, I guess. But that
Yeah.
album and the one before has a lot of like spoken word ish type thing, and I really think that it was just maybe a coincidence that Metallica played on that record. And the thing is that I think that people think of it as a Metallica album, so of course it's going to be crap because it just doesn't sound anything like Metallica, and Metallica singing on some parts is horrible. But the low
Yeah.
Reed parts, I think they're great lyrics, interesting. Lou Reed at the end had this very specific guitar sound that's like horrible, like a boss metal pedal, like horrible sounding. But I enjoy the fact that he was not like you were telling me like when John Lennon died, like it must have been so weird to be one of those artists like 70s, 80s, like Bob Dylan. It's like everything is happening, and then you have to keep doing you while all this so much experimental, weird punk rock music is happening at the same time. And at least that's what I get from it. So I think that it's a horrible Metallica album, Lulu. But
Interesting,
it's
because the
good.
reason I like Lou is for his lyrics, right? Because his whole literary background it chimes with mine. Do you know what I mean? It's all the same stuff. It's Delmore Schwartz, William Burroughs, Raymond Chandler, all those sort of guys. So I'm coming from that sort of point with Lou. Do you know what I mean? I don't really give a fuck about the music, to be honest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Metallica, I just wow. I don't think I've heard a Metallica record. I know they're heavy metal, aren't they?
Well,
You know.
I grew off metal quite fast when I was a kid. So I mean I listened to it, you know, like any kid I guess my age. But when
How old
when
are you, Jose?
I'm 27.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that it was such a weird experience because Metallica in Latin America it's huge. It's like you have no idea how big impact that.
Well, they
had.
love metal there, don't they?
Yes.
And they love the
Iron
Ramones as
Maiden.
well, don't they?
Yes.
But
I grew up
it's funny
on them.
because you're kind of the age that, like, for you, Metallica was already a classic rock band when you were of age. You're too young
Yes.
for Metallica.
Yes, I guess so. Yes, but the first four albums Metallica put out are just like way more listened than Pink Floyd or the Beatles or whatever over here. It's like it's a must for people over here because there's a lot of metal bands. My
but
first
they were all four. The first four Metallica albums were, I think, were released before you were born.
Oh yeah, definitely. But that's another.
Oh, really? Are they from the 80s, are they? Are they from the
Yeah.
80s, Metallica?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. Are they sort of contemporaries of Guns N' Roses? Is that the sort of era?
they're before that.
they're before
me,
them.
unlike you, Paul. I've never listened to that shit. Oops.
No.
And
No, it's okay.
It's okay. You're among friends here, Stunty.
but they're really, like, I believe, like John would say, I think they released first in 82, 83, something like that.
Okay, so
Probably.
they're quite sort of early, yeah.
And like by 90, like when they did their Black Album, was kind of their last hurrah, like let's try to still be relevant while grunge is going on. and they managed to do that. But after that, it's like no one really cares about the records that came after that.
No.
Apart from
They're mostly
fans.
playing hits at this moment. I think they're only like playing like greatest hits or whatever. But
Yeah.
metal over here, it's so weird. It's so much love. The first concert that I ever went to here when I was 14 was Gorgorov. You know that band? It's
what is it?
Gorgorov.
Wow, I've never heard of them.
No? Well, it's black
The
metal.
only metal band from Mexico I know, I think, is Brujeras.
Brujeria?
Brujeria, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that a mystical animal?
No,
no, I'm thinking of the Chupara, whatever it's called. What's it called?
Okay.
The werewolf.
Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was so frequent over here to listen to that stuff. So in a way, I guess that Lou Reed album saved me a little bit because it was just like, what else is out there? You know what I mean? Because I used to go and buy whatever CD I was recommended to me, because when I was a kid, the guy from the record store basically dictated what I would listen. Sometimes it's like, hey, listen to this. Hey, listen to this.
Right.
I used to like talking about records with that guy, but he had a bad taste, I guess, looking back to it now. But at the time, he was like a little more like, like if it wasn't for that type of people.
And what were kids of your age listening to? What was the big thing when you? What were the kids listening to at school?
I guess pop and reggaeton. That's basically it. That's
reggaeton.
Yeah. Because look, this is the thing about reggaeton. Reggaeton has always been here. It started before I was born, and it's always going to be here. The weird thing for me that I was talking about with Stunty the other day and Rachel's stream is that for me it's so weird that people are now like, I want to be hip to it. So there's all this artists doing very, very bad sounding reggaeton music, because there's good reggaeton influence out there that it's not even from Latin America, but it's just so weird to me that it got so caught on. It's like if two-tone ska was like huge I guess it's huge in Latin America, but like something so specific, you know what I mean? Like it's like, why does it exist? And there's good and there's bad stuff out there, right? Like blues is from the US, but England did it best, I think, most of the time. And not the original. I mean, like
no.
60s,
I know.
70s.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and like in Argentina, the first band that started playing blues in Spanish was called Manal, and so I don't believe in that crap of like proper cultural appropriation. I think if you want to play whatever you want to play, that's great. We don't here in Latin America, we don't.
That's a big thing now, isn't it? Cultural appropriation. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it used to be called fusion or crossover.
Yes, he's used to. Yeah, he used to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fusion.
But to me, it's so weird that people like it outside, because it's one of those things. It's like if cumbia got so big, it's just such a specific music from such a specific place that
I'll tell you what about cumbia. Cumbia and there's this other dance, but in Paris there were two DJs, like house DJs, who started to insert cumbia or modern cumbia in their sets, and that was underground parties, obviously, and of course it fit in an underground party, and people loved it because in an underground party you got real dancers, not like people who go out to get over their weekday, like, and that created stuff like there. You probably know this label, Jose, from Portugal, called what are they, DJ Niga Fox and all that.
Yeah, I,
Principe.
I think I know what you're talking about. But
So
I see
basically,
the logo.
they take their influence from Angola, because
Mhm.
Angola is a colony, but like it inserts like this very specific type of African rhythms from Angola into techno, and they do it in very kind of like in a hieroglyphic being way, so very raw, very minimal, but very hard also, and
Yeah.
it's great. It's almost like industrial music in a way, but I agree that like what you're talking about is when they do that and oh, but let's have it in a way that it's clean, that like everyone can get into, that there's nothing like
Yes.
to oppose it.
Yes.
Then of course it's, but and that's just the same thing with any kind of
Well.
music. We were talking earlier about how now we have so much success and excitement about music that is non-Western, and
Yeah.
it's easier to get into that. So I guess it's just like what you're describing is just a byproduct of the positive aspect of
Yeah.
the zeitgeist.
I don't. I think yeah, it's part of globalization too. I guess, but my point to it is like we don't mind people doing it. I guess mostly my criticism would be just to do it good, if possible. That they can do good music if they can, but it's like I was telling you the other day. There's a Japanese guy in Mexico that makes cumbias. There's
Yes.
a very small oh, Príncipe. Oh,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking now. Príncipe. There's a very small population in the north part of Mexico in Monterrey that what they do is like they put a cumbia record, but they slow down it. It's called cumbia rebajada, and it's great. And
So it's like new beat. It's like you know what new beat
That's
is.
steady.
Paul?
Is that
You
when it
know what
slows
new?
down to make rock steady?
No, new beat was like in Belgium in the early mid
yeah,
80s when the DJs would put the records at like
Slow speed.
records that the technique basically is a record that was on 45. They would put them in. They would play them at 33 plus 8.
How
yeah,
weird
that's
they used to do that. They used to do that in the gay clubs in the 50s. They would take women's records, like a typical girl singing about men. They'd take a
pitch them.
45 and they'd play it on 33, so that it sounded like a man singing
Oh,
to
Oh
a
wow.
man. See? And there were
Yeah,
actual
that's
records made for that
oh, I
purpose.
guess
I've actually
vaporwave. It's
one.
also
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, I'll have to split because I have a meeting
yeah,
in
like
a
we
little.
have. It's 2 hours almost, so it's
Hey,
fine
but
now.
it was a great conversation. I liked it.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah, it
good
was
one.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah, good one,
All
Jose.
right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice
First
Yeah,
time
to
on
man.
my
see your
stream, so
face.
if I got I talk too much. Sorry.
No, that's cool.
you
I haven't
you
spoken
get
to you
used to
before.
it.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. Well,
See you
see
soon.
you.
And Paul,
See
yeah,
you,
we
Mark.
can finish it off with or yeah. I mean, who cares about going to like 2 hours 0000? Like, what is that Western OCD thing?
Fuck. Yeah. It doesn't matter to me, to be honest.
No, not me neither. But yeah, I was just a little bit frustrated today, and I thought like, okay, I'll do the stream and talk about music. I have lots of work to do. Tomorrow, I'm doing a stream with Michael 45.
Are
I'm
you
not.
good?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
doing it
we're
on this
doing
channel, Stunty?
yeah on his channel. Yeah, we do it every
Okay,
other
cool.
week, where I talk about upcoming releases that are not like the big ones that might be of interest to people who are actually a little open to music, but like it's a lot of work to be aware of these records before they can get out, and often
Hmm.
500 copies in that world where everyone is obsessed with vinyl again, like
Hmm.
like there's a record that actually that I talked to Michael. I pre-ordered it, and it's you might find it interesting. I was thinking earlier about like what kind of like my music as the Philistine like to call it, as if I had any claim to all of that, that I could send to you or that you could get into. And there's a record. I think I'm going to talk about it tomorrow with Michael. It's her name is easy to remember now for me, because I just have to remember that her name is Joss Pook, Pook.
Oh, like William Burroughs. Our
Yeah.
Puck is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's been around since the early mid 80s, playing various string instruments and vocal for everyone from Gary Newman to Coil and to mainstream
Wow.
stuff as well. Like she has an ensemble, but she basically did the music for a short movie of like an avant-garde British director called maybe John Smith or something like that. He did a movie about the destruction of an old building.
Oh yeah.
It's like 15 minutes. It's very avant-garde, but very 80s. But even if it's from the 90s, I think, yeah, 95. And she did the soundtrack to that. And Stanley Kubrick saw that and asked her, "I want you to do the original music for Eyes Wide Shut."
Wow. Interesting.
And she did really good. And there's a label that just released that record of hers, the soundtrack to that early movie. And
is this the lady you're going to be discussing on the show, Stunty?
Yeah, amongst others, like we
Good.
present between 12 and 15 records, and that we obviously don't have yet in our hands because they haven't been released yet. But try to talk about them in a way that is exciting for people, and I think that that's the kind of record you would find quite fun to listen to at least once, maybe twice, and
Well, listen, I find it interesting anyway because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm so bored at the moment. Do you know what I mean with stuff that's coming out and what have you? I'm just very jaded. Do you know what I mean? So I'm up for anything different, really.
Do you get sometimes a little bored about the old stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get when you're there.
I get to a point where I'm just saturated and I need some new kind of kick.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? No, I do get bored. I get bored easily, Stunty. You know what it's like, man.
I mean, of course, I know. I would be shocked if you said otherwise. I know some people would say, no, I can't get bored of rock and roll. But because you have like, how many stars are your main things? You have like 3 stars that you really follow, right?
Yeah, I mean the main stuff that I collect on 45 is Black American music.
Yeah.
Right. And then
West Indies.
Yeah,
West Indies
exactly.
As well.
Yeah, but most of the music I listen to, I've been into since I was at school. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I have sort of done it to death. So I'm always interested in new stuff. Do you know what I mean? But it has to be a bit more off the wall. I'm not interested in like new rock music or new whatever it is, you know, new reggae or whatever. I'm only interested in a new type. You know what I mean?
You know, for me it's the same, but at the same time, I still keep looking for something that would prove me wrong. That like, okay, this new rock thing is, and I mean, I'm not alone in that because everyone has their own threshold, and I just so happen to believe that my threshold might be. No, it's silly to say that even, but it's wait a second. Yeah, it's yeah. But for example, right now, like there's lots of people who most people don't know me through the VC or through YouTube. It's mostly through my old band that was electronic dance music.
Yeah.
Which is the part of my collection that is the least showcased in what I do. And I have an amazing collection of that. I have probably a collection of that kind of stuff like yours with rhythm and blues and stuff like that. Probably even more impressive because it's easier. It's to collect that. It's just closer in time,
Yes.
and I was there when it was happening for the most part. But for me, this is still the kind of music that has the most amount of releases, and where it's the most difficult for me to find anything that feels like it's adding something to the big wall of music history of that style. So right now I'm at the point that if I find like 5 records of house or techno this year that I think, wow, this is really good, I will be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know it will happen. It's just I need to be. It's just such a struggle and such like a chore to go through all that rubbish. Or it's not necessarily rubbish because often it's very well done. It's better done
Mm.
than, but it's boring because it's treading the same. Like
Yeah.
yeah, you just need something to tickle your ear. Like okay, it's doing something. I remember recently, for example, that's how I work. There was this guy who I know who used to do electronic, krautrockish stuff called Markus Schmickler, and he released an album earlier this year or last year I believe, yeah. And half of it was sounds designed to be unpleasant to the ear. You read that, and you listen to it and oh yeah, okay, oof, exactly, oof. And then oh, actually that's interesting that a record could have that effect on you, that it has actually
Yeah.
physical, and that's the intention. So I thought okay, I'm buying that, and I'm so happy I did that because it's just to confront yourself to that, and because there is beauty actually in it. It's just that
Yeah.
it's such a weird thing.
Yeah. And also another, one man's meat is another man's poison, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
There's that, but I mean it's just that the more you listen to music, like when Rachel and co think, or when they forget that I I'm not just about experimental avant-garde. Uh,
Mm.
it's not like the stuff that you listen to now doesn't necessarily erase the stuff that you liked before. It's just
No.
that it's impossible for you to enjoy stuff that is like the stuff from before. The
Yes.
stuff from before is still there, but the new stuff
Yeah.
from before, there's no point in that because you already
No.
had your world, your psyche, your brain structure altered by it. It doesn't happen twice.
Yeah, I mean, there's records that will never get tired for me, like my old doo-wop 45s. I mean, they're always going to be sacred to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I like the same stuff as Lou Reed, like, basically. We got very similar taste, me and Lou, you know what I mean? And that's the kind of stuff that's at the heart of what I like. But fuck, I don't want to listen to it every day, you know?
yeah, and
So some days I don't want to listen to music, right? I just want to go out and listen to birds singing or something. Do you know what I mean?
oh my god, you have no clue. Like so often, like when there's like a storm out here, because I live in the
Oh, that's
forest, I
wonderful.
just go out
Yeah.
and to listen to the wind in the fruit trees, like
Yeah.
quadrophenia. Come on, like forget about that.
And I like
Just
listening to the rain on a tin roof, you know?
just and that's probably why also I'm so blessed with having been exposed to the musique concrète concept, not as a teen, but almost like I was like maybe 17 or so. I was listening to music influenced by that, but that musique concrète, or at least roughly the concept around it.
What is it, Stunty?
So in 1949, I believe. I
Mm-hmm.
think he started in 1947. Pierre Schaeffer started to conceptualize the concept of musique concrète, which is basically music made out of anything but music instruments. And
I'm
he
with you.
made it, yeah. And he did a record. Um, this is an artifact. Le
Wow.
solfège de l'objet sonore. Solfège, you know what solfège is?
No, what's that?
Solfege is the notation, like do, re, mi, fa, si, la, so,
Right.
solfege of the sonic object. So basically, it's a book theorizing categories of objects and this kind of sounds they make.
Fucking brilliant. Sounds
Yeah,
excellent.
so
Yeah.
it's totally abstract, but like, so there were basically a club of it's music that is being made possible because of the invention of the tape recorder. So it was a bunch of guys who had access to tape recorders and microphones in the late 40s, and who were having monthly meetings at the in a room at the French National Radio and playing each other the sounds they made, which they recorded. Which is they created the sounds by being there and recording them. Otherwise, it's just like
Now
environment.
this wouldn't be the same radio station that played Arto, is it? To have done
Yeah,
with the judgment
absolutely.
of God.
Wait. Arto.
Which one have you got? The Suntag one? Which one?
This one. Exactly. To end it with God's judgment.
Yeah. To have done with the judgment of God. I fucking love that. Do you know what? Someone gave that to me on a cassette when I was 16. He said, "You like all that William Burroughs stuff? You've got to broaden your mind a bit more, right?" He put that. He gave me that on a cassette. Oh man, it just changed it. This whole scene for me, that was up my game. That was fantastic.
Funnily enough, like after my studies, the first job I got was at the French National Archives, and I was doing communication there, and they had several locations in Paris and around Paris, and I was at the main place where they have not the vaults, yeah, they have the digitalized vaults, and which is like Fort Knox. It was insane. The whole place was like a small village, and every once in a while someone transferred or quit their job, and sometimes they would just throw out all the free stuff they got from working there, and I probably got 30 or 40 copies of that Antonin Artaud record there. I already had one, but yeah. But so these guys, they started to in the late 40s to start to think about recorded sound, and then they started to build narratives, like to glue tape bits to tape bits, to play them backwards, to play them through effects, multi-channeling, and they started to build what they called acousmonium. Basically, the venue is filled with speakers on the stage and within the audience. So basically, the sound is coming from everywhere. The artist is sitting in the back with the mixer and distributing the sounds around through the whole sound system. So basically, Jamaican sound systems before that, by the widest of the widest dudes from France from the 40s, going back.
I mean, that was a really fertile time, wasn't it? That just after the war,
like
there was
the
a very
thing,
fertile
yeah. On Pierre Schaeffer, he was working at the French National Radio, I think in 44, and he started to conceptualize the whole thing in 47, and the first records, the first examples were released, I think, in 51, but they were broadcasted on the national radio already in 49, I believe.
Yeah, because I think the Arto one's 47, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Imagine hearing that on the radio in 1947.
Yeah. And basically, if you think about it, what basically they did, which is the same as the guys from Köln, Herbert Heimer, Stockhausen, who invented the same kind of music, but through different means. They used oscillators. They created electronic music, whereas these guys created electro-acoustic music, which is, in the end, it can sound kind of the same. But what they did in reality is that they completely revolutionized Western music by allowing the composer to escape tonality. Because if you think about it, an oscillator, like basically a knob that you turn, or a tape that you adjust the speed of, basically you enter Indian classical music, microtonality, because there's no fixed tones. There's just
Yeah.
as many possible tones as you can slowly turn the knob,
Yeah.
and that really creates, yeah, that's a liberation for the composer, and that was the objective of electronic music, which is why I think it's always useful to remember and to remind that what we lazily call electronic music nowadays, techno, house, electro,
Mm.
when they started out disco, they weren't called electronic music. They had connections with that, but there's a reason why they didn't call themselves electronic music, because they knew they weren't. Because most all these styles of music, even when they use 100% instruments that have electronics in that, they always are trying to mimic the orchestra. Let's have a drum kit. Let's have this instrument that kind of sounds like a horn or something. Where electronic music, electroacoustic music project was to be done with all that, to invest, to be really futuristic, as with the Italians, the futuristists, and it's a failed project in the sense that it never got as popular as. I guess the peak would be maybe Jean-Michel Jarre, which is already a cop out. Even if Jean-Michel
Yeah.
Jarre started out by learning concrete music, and his very first 7-inch is that kind of music, and it's amazing.
Wow.
It's
I've not
wonderful.
heard that.
Yeah, it's
When was that?
called
In the 70s, was it?
early 70s. Yeah, 71 or
Yeah.
72. It's called The Cage, La Cage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting. I've not come across that at all.
it was famous for being unavailable. There was only like 60 copies in circulation, and
Oh,
then
there you
a
go.
guy I know, a dealer, found the mother load of like he basically, I don't know if I told you that there was I told that story a couple of times. There was this guy who was like third league Parisian dealer. He was nice. He wasn't a like everyone liked him because he wasn't harmless. He
Yeah.
wasn't like stepping on anyone's lane. You,
Yeah.
you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And but he was doing as anyone. He was like putting out ads, classifieds, and sometimes someone would call, and this guy calls him, and it's in the suburbs of Paris. He goes there with hope. He's in the north of Paris, and he arrives in this like shitty post-industrial crumbling building. And there's this guy, kind of like a little bit on the spectrum, or very much on the spectrum, in his early 50s. And he shows him like 20 records, nothing special, nothing. Not the comments, the stuff you see everywhere,
Mm,
but still nothing that anyone is really interested in. At
sure.
best, you could maybe find a break in one of these records and sell it for $20.
Right.
And he's kind of like, oh, I spent all my day going there. I'm leaving. I'll take one, just like the one that maybe I can do something, so I don't feel like I wasted my day. And when he proceeds, the little guy tells him, "Oh, you like this one? Come, I have more." Hmm? And he takes him
Uh,
through uh, uh, like a decommissioned, like he takes him through an inner court and then through a lab. He didn't know back then, but that was a galvanization lab. Then he takes him through a huge, like a massive um, warehouse with huge, like massive cauldrons for melting plastic.
wow.
And then there's like a lift, an elevator that doesn't
Yeah.
work. So there's like a ladder through the elevator to go to the upper level, and then you arrive. I went through the same thing, but when he arrived, it was untouched. The whole warehouse filled with monolites of boxes of returns from Vogue
Oh,
disc. There was
right.
3 million records there, untouched since
Jesus.
untouched since the early 80s. 3 million
Wow.
records.
including records that were not supposed to exist, like a French pressing of Saturday Night Live by Olivia Newton-John. Shit, but that record doesn't exist, and there are
Right.
hardcore collectors of that, as you know.
Of course. So there's a lot of
And he
money
suddenly had,
tied up.
yeah, and he suddenly had 400 copies of that mint.
Christ, what a find, man!
He was the first guy I knew who got an iPhone to have access to Gem, to PopPsych, because
Wow.
yeah, I mean, he found 150 copies of that Jean-Michel Jarre 7-inch.
Jesus wept. That's when you've
Exactly.
made it. Yeah.
So for 6 months, his biggest problem in life was shutting his mouth,
Yeah. Telling people about it. Yeah.
like not telling anyone. And when
Yeah.
he thought, like, okay, now internet is not helping. Now I need to take people in to help me, because at one point, like 3 millions, it's impossible.
It is.
And I was I think I was number 22 who got access to the whole thing. And when I got it, like, it was when he showed me a picture of how it looked like when he got it, and it was like the most neat thing. When I got to it, you were literally walking on 3 meters of record dunes. Like, the word digging became reality. You were digging 3 meters of records under your feet. You were walking on everything.
Christ. Sounds like the old Fortune warehouse in Detroit.
Yeah.
You're walking on 78s, you know, and you're like, oh God, no, not another Andre Williams, please. You know, you know, such was the disregard for this wonderful vinyl.
Yeah. What happened there is that, like, the guys who got access to this after him, they realized, oh shit, we need to make the most out of it the fastest possible, because we have an opportunity. When I got there, like, I was finding Ennio Morricone soundtracks. That's what they left.
No.
Yeah.
How bizarre.
because they were the ones that they didn't cost nothing on Discogs yet, like maybe 15 euros or stuff.
Right.
Because no one had the care
No.
for them. Yeah. So
the market hadn't been created for them.
Exactly.
How
Like,
wonderful.
So, but it's funny. I remember that story because of the Jean-Michel Jarre, because the problem was that this guy, he was good, the one who found it all.
Mm.
Oh no, I had first to tell you why did that happen? Why did it stay that way for so long? Basically, the guy who called back, who had the records, was the concierge of the place, the guard.
Yeah.
And he was married to the daughter of the owners. She died, they died, and in his feeble mind, he was still working there. When he actually owned the place, and the whole world had forgotten about it, including Vogue Music, or the people who owned the catalog of Vogue Music.
Wow.
So what happened is that when this Jean-Michel Jarre record, that is supposedly only, like, at best 60 copies ever distributed, suddenly all the hardcore Jean-Michel Jarre collectors, within 6 months, they all managed to get a copy. So of course Jean-Michel Jarre gets the info and asks his label, what is going on here? There seems to be, like, bootlegs of this. You need to do something.
He obviously thought someone was pressing it up somewhere.
Yeah. And eventually they figured it out, because there's a rap band, a hip-hop band, that got access to the place and filmed a video there.
Wow, man. That
And
is
when the label figured it out, they went there, they said, this is ours, and they destroyed everything.
Oh God, that is real vandalism, isn't it?
I mean, it was already vandalism. Like, you were like, the whole thing was just so absurd. The first time I went there, it was during the fall. It was like steel plate, the whole building. So it was cold as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
and in summer, it was probably like that was horrible. Plus, the guy who who owned the whole thing had two dogs who were wandering around everywhere and who were shitting everywhere. There was like the
It
greatest
must
digging
have
story
stunk
and
in.
the worst one.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. What a shame you couldn't have filmed it or something. Do you know what I mean? You just don't think
Yeah,
of these things, do you? You know what I mean?
like I didn't have like a smartphone back then. It was
Yeah,
like
exactly. What exactly, you know?
and you always think I'm gonna come back
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
because you don't have time. Like the time you were there, you know why you were there. Like you were trying to find something a little bit unique and finding all the
Yeah.
copies of it. Like which
And
was
it's
like
mind-boggling when you come
going
across
to
that many records, isn't it, Stunty? Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's a place in Florida called Bananas, and it's a big record warehouse. They've got 4 million records, right?
Yeah.
And you go in it, and it's, imagine it, 4 million records. It's fucking huge, this place. But you just almost give up because you just don't know where to look, and because it's America.
There's a shop here in Stockholm. The guy has, it's not that big, but like a shop size. Like he has too many records and nothing
Yeah,
is in order. And when I
yeah,
mean too many records, is it's not that much, but like when a shop has at least 20,000 records that you can go through, it's depressing in a way.
yeah.
It's too
It,
much.
it,
When
I feel like that when I go around someone's house and they've got like millions of records, and it's just like rows and rows of LPs, and I just think, oh no, I can't be bothered. You know, it's
you
just
know
too.
Ed, who's the I tell you Ed, I bet there were some grails at the bottom of the piles. I went to the floor. I went to the ground when I was like the
Yeah,
word digging, like I dug. Like
yeah,
it became, you know how in the desert, the desert is always different because of the wind, the sand dunes
mm.
shift. That place was the same because people digging. You basically just took a record in front of you and threw it behind you. That's how you did. That's how you
Wow,
were doing your digging.
Christ, it's mental, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I went through a lot of this place in Florida, and I found a single by Little Willie John that came out on Parlophone in England. It's a rare one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same label as the Beatles first came out on the red Parlophone. And this guy didn't know what it was. And this was back in the 80s. And because he didn't know what it was, he thought he was stitching me up by charging me $10 for a reissue. It was when a reissue 45 went for about $3. So charging me $10 for it, he thought he was turning me over. So I couldn't get the $10 out of my pocket quick enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then of course I paid for it, and then I told him, of course, what it was after I'd paid for it. You know, as I walked out the door. Ta-da! You know,
Just quickly, Dmitry, the shop is called Mad Records, and he changes location every now and then, which is crazy since he's a hoarder. There's a couple of hoarders
yeah,
in Stockholm who have shops, but about that, like that place I just told you about, he had like little boxes that were part of the stuff he had in stock there, and you would feel one with 7 inches. It was, by the way, it was way more 7 inches than LPs. There
oh
were lots
wow.
of LPs, but like I would say that there was like 70% of the records there were 7 inches. And
Mm.
yeah, so basically he made you pay. I remember 45 euros for a box filled, and you could fit 30 records. You could fit if you could fit.
Wow, Jesus, that's a good deal.
Yeah, that was a
Got
good
a
deal.
box, and then you put 30, 45s in it, yeah? Fucking hell,
And
man.
I
It's like
put some
picking
winners from
strawberries.
Holland, and like they were like they're still feel indebted to me.
Fucking hell, man. When you go out in Stockholm, do you ever see any of the other Swedish collectors that are in the vinyl community? Like
No.
Alex or Matthias? No.
Who?
Do you know Matthias on here? He does what's his thing called now? Glendora's. It's
Oh
called
no, I don't.
Glendora Mean Mojo or something like that.
I must say that I was twice recognized in the shop by people who watch me on the VC in Stockholm, but I don't know these people. They were very nice, but
Yeah.
I don't think they have channels. I know there's this guy Jonas, but I don't think he's in Stockholm. I think he's in Gothenburg,
Ah.
and Stockholm is a little weird in a way. It's good, but it's weird. You have to understand it, but when you understand it, it can be really, really good. But you know what? Like when you got the record, like you just told the story that you told him afterwards after you paid. What I do when I go to a shop and I see that the owner, the seller is, you know, the kind you don't like, the kind
Yeah,
who's like
an
telling
arsehole.
you an asshole, one whose biggest fear in the world is to sell you underprice.
Exactly.
No, there's one kind of record shop owner who are assholes, and that's the one for me.
That is the one. And they're the ones that's really fun to turn over, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And sometimes you like them anyways. You can be friends with them at the same
Yeah.
time. It's not
Yeah.
incompatible. But what I
No.
usually do is I go to the. I told that a few times already, but I usually go to the dollar bin or like the trash stuff, and I will dig for like a couple of minutes, and then I go.
Oh,
Then I
man.
take my phone.
Oh, sacre bleu.
Yeah, and I fake call someone and say, you have no idea what I just found. And I go and I actually pay it. And I see the guy who's like sweating.
Oh, dear.
Sweating.
Oh, dear. I've done that before. I've got to confess. I have done that before. I've been looking for this for years. You know, how much is it? $50. I'll happily pay $50. It's 50 cents. Here, take $1. Keep the change. God love you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, dear. You got
when
to
you've
do
done
it.
that for long enough, you
Yeah.
start to do stuff like that. It's silly, but like, come on.
It is. It's puerile, but it's funny. You know, and it keeps you amused.
And you're not harming anyone apart
No.
from you. I kind of, when I did that, it was it's kind of a lesson teaching in a way that no one asked you to give, but it's just I remember there's this shop in Paris, La Dame Blanche, classical, and they have a back stock where they had tons of avant-garde stuff, and they had the whole catalog of the GRM series, the Musique Concrète stuff, when no one was buying that, no one was interested in it. And they had like multiple copies of each one, which was good, very smart for them. But when I wanted them, they were charging $40 for each. And I thought, like, come on, no, like I've seen these sitting and not moving at all, like.
Of course. I hate it when they do that.
Yeah.
No one's
And
buying it, and they got a silly price. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the price were really good in reality, but like,
Yeah,
the
but it
market wasn't
doesn't
there yet.
match the demand, does it?
Yeah. And so, and when you see them starting to be cringy when you ask for, like, if I take like 10 of them, how good of a price? Yeah, it's very difficult to get them. It's like, come on,
Yeah,
7 copies there.
yeah. Don't give me that, please. You know what I mean? I hate all that. Oh, it's Eddie.
Yeah.
Hi, Eddie.
Yeah, we were talking Mexican music earlier, Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie, you would have enjoyed it, man. We've had a whole
Yeah.
Mexican session on here. What's it like living in Sweden? Is it expensive, Stunty? Compared to
come from
France?
Paris. Well, Paris is
Oh,
expensive.
Paris is expensive anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's probably
And,
not expensive for you, is it?
sorry?
It's probably not expensive for you, is it? If you're from Paris,
Exactly. It's not.
it's comparable.
It's comparable. I would say that sometimes you pay a little more here, but
Yeah,
you get often it's more fair. Like you just like street food, for example. Like if I buy a kebab in Paris, I overpay for it compared to what I get. If
right.
in Stockholm, I won't be hungry after I paid for my kebab.
Sure.
Yeah. If
That's
you
cool.
if you get a flat in Stockholm, which is impossible, same as in Paris, there's nothing like there's no flat that is under 30 square meters. In Paris, for the same price, maybe sometimes you will get something that is like 12 square meters.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know how expensive it is in Paris. The rent's very expensive, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It used to be.
Unless you get those places where they fix the rent, you know.
Yeah, that
This
doesn't really.
does that not work anymore?
Not really.
Nah.
But I remember when I started to go to visit London first, like in the mid 90s or so and early 2000s, you saw a big difference, which it was that the people like me, no one could afford living alone.
No.
Whereas in Paris, it was still possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're still that bit more expensive here.
Well, London is weird because the I think that in London you have it feels to me at least like when I'm poor in Paris, I have a million ways to spend my money.
Mm.
Whereas in London, I feel that if you're poor, there's very not that many ways you have left to spend your money because everything there's. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Your money doesn't go far here, does it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's not you don't have like going to the theater that's expensive there.
Yeah.
In Paris, rents are expensive, but when you do when you for the rest, if you live there and you know how to hustle a bit, it
Yes.
used to be possible to have access to great culture, great good food, and all that
Yes.
without like breaking the bank every single time.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the great things about France is that you can go and get a decent meal somewhere, and
Yeah,
it doesn't cost you a fortune, you know, and you'll get decent food as well. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to find that now in London.
yeah. You got great food in London, but like it's or so it seems, or so
Well,
people say.
we've
At
got good
least,
Indian food.
yeah. And
We've
yeah,
got great Indian food.
yeah. I was shocked. In most of the of England,
Mm.
finding Asian food is not. It's not that easy to find good Asian food.
Mm.
I mean, you got like African food, like from some of the colonies, but yeah,
Mm. Your best
it's
bet in London is Indian curry.
yeah,
You know,
for sure.
that is your best because they're all Indian families. You know, and they've been here a long time, and they cook it how they eat it at home. You know.
Yeah, Ryan, but you don't live in London, right?
Ryan lives in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's but funny enough, yesterday I was watching a French movie about the first restaurant and its invention right before the French Revolution and how it was kind of parallel, like the culture of having a place where you go and eat and there's a menu. When when did that start? Before that, you had taverns
Hmm.
which served what they had. It wasn't, and it
Exactly.
was just for traveling people. You didn't go to the tavern to eat,
No.
or and then there were like business places, taverns in the city, but like a restaurant, the concept of restaurant is fairly new. It's
Yeah.
it was a kind of like mainstream movie, but it was quite good, and but it's yeah. To go back to our sheep, as we say in France, retourner à nos moutons, records. It's also something I want to talk a little more about how like the origin of records and how like of music medium, like how the companies that started to sell music sheets for people to play on their piano at home, which is
Yes.
part of it all, it's still the same companies. If you trace like they got sold and changed names and
That's
all that,
right. Yeah.
yeah, it's still the line is straight,
And it's
or
still in the hands of a few people, isn't it? The music
exactly,
publishing. You know.
which is what is so strange, and you get anomalies like the guy Mark Schum from Einstürzen und Neubauten,
Oh yeah.
who he's the heir of the family who owns Gema.
No, really, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, very
So
well
Gema
connected.
is what would be the equivalent in the UK?
It would be, who's the chap now? I can't think of his name. Oh, fuck's sake, he's got a son who's
Chapel?
taking it over.
No, but would it be like
Yeah,
chapel music?
Chapel and Sons, exactly, Chapel and
Like in
Sons.
France, it's La SACEM, and in Sweden it's Steam. Yeah, it's funny how these companies have managed to persevere, to keep thriving and finding ways of.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think it's something. It's quite. The story behind it is like. It's Games of Thrones in a way. Like when you see, I looked a little bit the history of the family of Mark June because I'm interested in Einstein and Neubauer, and it's quite interesting when you see that some marriage in that family were really business orientated because they knew
sure.
they need to keep that business in the family one way or another.
Of course, it's like the royal family, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's an arrangement of convenience, isn't it? You know what I mean? Keep the money in the family. You know, you don't want it going to any peasants, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. which is ironically was like the rhetoric in that movie about the first restaurant, like the nobles who had the only real cooks. Like you don't want cuisine to go in the mouth of people who can't appreciate it.
Of course. Terrible. It's a waste.
Yeah.
Is there anything you miss about France, being in Sweden?
I've adapted, you know. I'm like there's stuff I used to go to the movie theater like almost every day, and sometimes
Yeah.
twice or 3 times a day. I don't do that at all here. I go to the movie theater maybe once a year now.
Yeah.
And
I can't remember the last time I went to a movie, to be honest. Very little grabs my attention really with movies.
yeah, but for me it was like you always find. I mean, if you're in a city like Paris, you will find stuff
Oh,
that will
sure.
grab your interest. But it's also like I liked just it as a hobby, the habit. Like I liked, you know, the whole ritual going to the dark room, that like
Yeah.
everyone is silent, and
Yeah.
it's not light projected into your eyes. It's on the screen, so it's soothing.
Mm,
Sometimes I even went to the theater just to rest, to have a sleep. I
yeah.
would choose a movie that I was not interested in, and I was just like doze off. I like
Yeah.
that, and
Well, people
also
used to
getting
go into the porn cinemas in London to sleep. You know, so there'd always be guys crashed out. There'd be like tramps in there, you know, lying
yeah.
down in the aisle and shit. You know, it was fantastic, really, as a kid. I found it all fascinating. Be guys with like a hat on their lap or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
No,
really
but
good.
I always say like you can't have everything at the same time at the same place, and like having the wind, the symphonies in the trees. I can't have that in the city. I can't
Yeah,
have like what I did today, like just jogging with fresh air and polite people around me. Whenever like the few times I cross some the path of someone.
hang on, Stan. I just got to get a door, man. One sec.
Yeah.
Don't be...
Yeah, cool, Ryan. Yeah, it's a much deeper movie than people gave it credit for. Eddie, have you seen Lone Star by what's his name? Um, oh, John Sayles. Good New Mexico movie. I think it's New Mexico. No, it's Texas. Yeah, it's Texas. Yeah, yeah. I've seen a few of his movies. Yeah. Hello, Eric. Hello, Eric. Yeah, the second songs from the second floor or whatever. Yeah, I've seen most of his movies actually. But yeah,
Oh, it's been mad out there today. They've had all the protesters blocking off the road. The stop the oil lot. You know, they'll take over. They come and sit in the road and stuff. You know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. Someday, like, what are the apart from the how nice it is inside? What are the pluses, the pros of where you live?
well, I can walk everywhere.
Okay, you're so central. Okay, yeah,
I don't own a car anymore. I haven't got a
yeah,
car because I don't need it, and I hate driving in London because it's a
yeah,
nightmare. There's nowhere to park. You know,
yeah.
it's not like the States where you can park everywhere.
And it's not
So
just that; it takes forever.
yeah, it's a traffic light every 100
Yeah,
yards. Do you know what I mean? And everything. It's just it's just not fun at all. So the best thing about round here really is, I mean, do you know where I am, Stunty? I'm opposite the Treasury. Do you know
yeah, yeah.
whereabouts that?
I,
It's very
I
central. I've got a
understand.
Big
I
Ben.
think, yeah, yeah. That's what I figured out. Yeah, I thought you were not too far away from. You were like east of where I arrive with the train from Paris, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just see if I can show you. Hang on.
So it's a little bit less busy. Like I guess that by 8 o'clock it's quite dead, or by
Can you
7
see?
o'clock.
Can you
Yeah,
see?
yeah,
So there's the Treasury.
yeah, yeah. I can see.
So
Yeah,
to the left is we've got Big Ben, and there's Houses of Parliament, Westminster Abbey, and then just down my road is the Prime Minister. He's on Downing Street.
we'll do that,
So
Robbie.
it's
Yeah.
central.
So, but like, what? There's you don't go to. Do you go to? Do you still go to any record stores out of habit, or
No.
no? You just go
The
to
record
your
shops.
tunnel, to your graffiti tunnel.
Well, the record shops in London are rubbish. I
Yeah.
mean, they really are. I mean, they're dire. I mean, they're pathetic. I mean, they really
Yeah, I
are
know.
in the dregs.
The worst part of it is that like when right now for me I'm quite angry because of Brexit, because there are shops in the UK that are also distributors and have their own labels and stuff that like there's no way around. You have to order it through them, so which means that you're paying that, you're paying custom fees
Oh,
plus the hassle of it all. Um,
I mean, I hate all this
and
Brexit thing.
but the thing is that like so I've understood for a long time ago, that whenever I go to London, I'm not looking for old stuff. I'm looking for the stuff that is 2 weeks old, that is
Sure,
British. That's the only
sure.
reason to do that, which is not that essential then. But if you're into that, so I go to Berwick Street and all the streets around there. So I go to Sister Ray, the few Sound and Exchange, like the one that is the ones that used to be on Notting Hill, and
Yeah,
also the classical record shop that is around
yeah.
Berwick
They're
Street.
all owned by the same person. The Record and Tape
Yeah, yeah,
Exchange series.
yeah.
You know.
But also the classical, the fancy classical music and jazz that is
Yes.
around Berwick Street with
Yes.
wooden. But the thing is that when you realize that even for the new stuff, that they are so conservative that like usually even the in demand stuff is gone after a week or two, that they don't
Yeah.
have enough stock even for the local stuff, then you
Yeah.
realize, okay, I better spend my time another way than record shopping in London.
And some of the records are so common and they're so expensive. I mean, they've
Yeah,
got records that sold 1 million copies, you know, and they've got them up on the on the wall for 200 quid. And I'm thinking, mate, they were in the dollar bins 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It's just so ridiculous, you know. Yeah, the record shops in London have always been pretty pathetic, unless it's the little stalls and places that had. I used to go to little stalls that had 45s. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
There used to be a great one in Kensington Market called Record Shack, and you could get stuff there.
Do you know Johnny Trunk?
Now, where's that, Stunty?
No, it's a guy. He has a label
Oh,
called Trunk Records. He has a show on Resonance FM. He has had for like 20 years, and he's the I would say he's probably the main library soundtrack guys in the UK. And
oh, okay,
he
cool.
puts out he every weekend he goes to Spitfalls market and he digs records there, like on the flea market. Spitfalls, I think.
Oh, yeah, Spitalfields.
Spitalfields, yeah. And
Yeah, in East End.
yeah, and that's where he finds records, and he goes there every week, and he deals a
Wow.
little bit on the side, and he often finds stuff. Um, I mean, his label is often really obscure private presses of like weird jazz, library, psychedelic,
Wow.
whatever, and
Interesting.
it's often stuff that he actually finds in the UK. I'm sure he has other resources, but I met him a couple of times. I was a guest in his radio show in 2007, I believe, almost by chance, by accident. But we have quite a few in common in our taste, and I know that he's one of. We know that there are people who still go every weekend and in the flea markets, and you can find
Yeah.
stuff because there's always someone who dies, but like the
Mm.
effort behind it, the dedication is
Oh, man.
yeah.
You've got to be dedicated. You've got to be prepared to have most of your time wasted,
Yeah,
and interspersed with little gems and little pockets of gold, as it were. Do you know what I mean?
and maybe also you need to be at a stage in your life where um with your partner, your wife or whatever, okay, you're not golfing, but you go and dig for records. It's kind of the same. Like it's like
Yeah,
keeping some distance between you and your better half in a way.
it really is. And for a lot of these guys, it's literally to get away from the wife.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. With a lot of men's hobbies, let's be honest. It's so they don't have to talk to the missus, isn't it?
Yeah. Julian Collins, who I think is the first time I read him here, or at least with that avatar. If Juno had a
Yeah.
physical store, it would be great for new stuff. Juno is the biggest stock of anything, everything that is new, and of course he's totally correct. Like, but I guess there are. It's so weird what is happening right now with of course people understand now that like being in a major city and paying rent for a store, yeah, it's not worth it.
Stop.
You
The
must love
overheads
the
are too
lifestyle.
big.
If it's a business,
Yeah,
it's not worth it. If you
it's
love the
not worth.
lifestyle, then you become like Alan's Records in the north of London, places like that. Who you don't have any boss, you work for yourself,
Exactly.
and you go by, you make by. But
If you're a
yeah,
small little record shop and you're just keeping even, you're sort of keeping an even keel and you're not going down or up, then you're doing all right. No one makes money from having a record shop. Yeah, no
I
one.
think you can now, but
It's very difficult, Stanty.
it, yeah. I mean, I know a few shops here in Stockholm. They're thriving. They have lots of
Are
employees
they?
as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But you can't be like a shop like in the old days. It's not possible,
no.
especially for the new stuff. And I mean, all the shops that are thriving, it's only secondhand stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
If
that's
you
the
want
thing
to
with
do,
the new record shops in London. They all have the same stock.
yeah, because
They have exactly the same stock
yeah,
as you see on Amazon.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
it's just pointless, you know?
Either you have a really really good curation so that you build a relationship with your labels, your artists, your distributors, so that you get access in large enough numbers to stuff that will vanish from elsewhere,
Mm.
or and you probably still need to do a label, a reissue label on the side to help the finance when it's a weak month or a weak streak.
Yeah.
But which I know a few record stores. There's a record store in Paris called Le Souffle Continu, the continuous breath. The two
Ah,
guys, yeah, it's a great shop. When they started out, the two guys, they used both to be in bands, and before that, they both worked in a second-hand CD store that was extremely popular in the 90s. It was by
okay.
the Jussieu University, and every journalist was going there to sell their promos, and everyone who wanted cheap stuff, but also the obscure stuff, the obscure promos that were sent. Like I bought all my CDs of like the weird stuff, industrial. I got so much of it there at like a really good price. Often you often paid like $6 for a brand new CD of whatever that was good. And of course, at one point, like these shops died. They tried
Yeah,
to go a little bit on vinyl with the new stuff, but it was too late. And these two
yeah.
guys, they opened their shop, and they were really good, but they were struggling. They had a great location, a little bit
Mm.
expensive, but great, right under the Père Lachaise cemetery, very close.
Wow, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
It's like
I love that place.
3 minute walk from the entrance of the cemetery.
Oh, brilliant.
And
Do you know what? I might have been in that shop actually.
the colors are mostly orange and brown.
Yeah, I'm
Like
pretty
the
sure I
art they have commissioned art of like portraits of famous record covers or artists, and the
Mm,
color scheme is orange and various shades of brown. And at
mm,
one point, they were struggling. They were telling me, "We don't know how long we can continue that." But they
yeah,
had such a great connection with the people, like the guys who did the labels in the 70s, like the free jazz labels, the funk,
yeah.
um, prog, etc. So the guys who, for some reason, for years, they no, I'm not gonna do any reissues, and now they were dying, and they say, okay, you guys have helped us enough. Like we give you the license to do these reissues, and now the label they have, which is the same name as the shop, is a bigger business than the shop itself. But they started that
Me.
because they wanted to save the shop. So they still do the shop.
Yeah.
They do both, and now they started to they've started to sell secondhand. They were always doing that a little bit, but mostly like their friends or artists had back stock. But now they take in, like, you can go there and sell your stuff, and they take it in because they understand.
Wow, what happened there, baby? Am I running this show on my own, Stunty? God bless your cotton socks. Okay, Harry, I'll answer this one. There was a local show for years that only allowed 45s. That's the one in Allentown, Harry. I don't know if you've been up there to Allentown. It's not too far from Pittsburgh. But they have a show there once a year, and it's just 45s. Hey, Paul, how you doing, man? What's the time? 6:15. Bloody hell, mate. What are you up to, Paul? Yeah, I'm the host. This is my show, and we're just gonna have 45s on it now, okay? Let me see if I've got any things to show you, boys and girls. Here we go. Let's have a look in the box of goodies. So, anyone know what that is? Here we go. Oh, this is an interesting thing. This is something I've been putting by. Now, I don't know if you've seen this, boys and girls, but I'll show it to you. See, that's Muddy Waters, but can you see this? This is Muddy having his process done. And this came with an LP called Electric Mud. I pulled it out because I really liked it. What have we got? What have we got in here? Got some really random things here. This is a teddy boy that used to come in my shop. Do you like his gear? Look at those sideburns. I love all this here, don't you? Fantastic. Okay, let's see what we've got in here. I'm just going through these, Paul. Look at these old lobby cards. Can you see? I got a whole stack there I've got to go through. Oh, here we go. John, you might know this. I'll show you something on here. There you go. That's an old rock-on record bag, now very collectible. Here we go. Here's something for the people over on the other show. Look at this thing. Look at this. Look at this rotten old cover. Look at that geezer. Look at that Barnet. Jesus wept. This is what we were talking about earlier, Stunty. Sheet music. I think these were 2 shillings. This is an American one. Oh, this is a South African one. That's got to be quite rare, isn't it? Can you see that? Look. South Africa, 20 cents. This is an English one. Here you go. I'll put that around. There we go. See, they're nice, aren't they? And here is our special prize. The Beatles Souvenir Song Album. And if you want to stop me burning this live, send in your donations to Sponge Rubber Tower. Oh, good. Right. Well, I think that's all I've got today. That hair was considered long. I know it was, Harry. When I went to the States in 1970, they thought I was a girl. And I only had hair down to here. Because I had blonde hair, they thought I was a girl. I had to go and have it. Have you got this, Harry? Have you got this? I don't know if you collect things like that. Do you collect stuff like that? Tell you what, you can have it if I can come and look through your 45s in your garage, right? But I'm going to leave it there today. So I'm going to go and get some scran. So I'll say goodbye to all you chaps, and we'll see you soon in the next stream.
Yes. Thank you, Paul. I had to exit for all the Beatles talk. No, I'm joking. Uh, it was fun. It was the cathartic stream today. Thank you, Paul. There you go. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Was nice for a change to have a. I mean, we enjoyed the chaos of Rachel and the whole drama, but yeah, I thought it was long due to have like a proper music and record chat, and with all these weird talks about channel growth and etc. And I hope Rachel doesn't take ombrage with all this, but yeah, it's been a long time since I did some of these chats streams. I used to do them with Davis, sometimes with Michael 45, but yeah, the pool of people has increased, so we might do that more often. It's like it's not going to be difficult to find fun topics about music and records to tackle. So I'll let you all go back to your usual chores and crimes, and I'll see you tomorrow on Michael 45 stream if you indulge us, and if not, probably on Friday doing playing records and yeah, and seeing and checking if YouTube can make me rich. Bye. Bye, John. Bye, Julian. To Valerus, Nathaniel, Harry, and Jason. Christopher. I'll leave the stream a little bit, but it won't be up forever. Yeah, so for those who ask me, I'll leave it for a day or so. All right. Have a great evening, guys. Bye.